There are high stone walls in the grounds near the remote shrine. And within these walls, conversations are held about the fate of the world. The chessboard is a complete mess. A hero who came from another world killed a demon lord raised by one of the people in the room. This causes him to irritably change the position of the pieces on the board. A nearby servant explains that this is due to the special skills that are bestowed on all other worlders. This makes it easy for them to kill the demon king and his minions. This causes the chess player, who turns out to be a demon, to grab his head. He can't remember how many times he's already been considered a hero killed. But since God has placed severe restrictions on all gods interfering in people's lives, trying to influence the situation would be too risky, even if it's the evil god himself, which he has to agree with. However, the evil god can't help but be surprised, as it seems that the demon lord was killed too quickly this time. The servant, after a pause, confirms that it was the fastest murder ever recorded. Moreover, due to killing the last designated demon lords too quickly, the evil god's energy had dried up. Now its total energy costs are in the negative range. The graph shown by the servant makes the evil god feel uneasy. So the servant gives his god an idea to reincarnate the hero in this world before the god of creation does. The demon clarifies. After all, what was the point of allowing the hero to be reborn? According to the idea of the servant, a curse can be placed on the soul of a new hero. Something like this will make it completely useless. The evil god admires the idea. He already imagines making one useless hero on purpose, and the target is already selected. A person appears right in the domain of the evil god. They have a conversation, and God is sure that the reborn person has questions. The young man looks at his companion with distaste. His name is Kijo Haruto, and judging from his uniform, he's still in high school. It looked like the evil god had already told him about the situation, and it is such that the schoolboy was killed by a demon, all in order to forcibly reincarnate Kijo in a world ruled by an evil god. Despite the unequal position in which a god sits on a throne, and a person stands in front of him, surrounded by something that looks like magic, he speaks very confidently. The evil god grins faintly at this, looking without much interest. Still, it confirms that Kijo understood the situation correctly, but the young man cannot fully comprehend it. After all, what was the point of killing him? A servant is watching the person talking from behind a pillar. Kijo asks, since the creature in front of him is a god, why can't he move it without killing it? The demon smiles indulgently and adjusts his glasses. He has an explanation for this. It seems that Kijo was killed by a car because it takes negative emotions to be reborn in a new world, such as fear of death and despair. It is not clear from the evil god's face whether he enjoys saying such cruel things or is annoyed by the man's behavior. Kijo is finally starting to realize, and his hands are shaking with the knowledge that he's really dead. But some idea forces him to partially regain control of himself. After all, if the evil god allows him to be reborn, Kijo should get some skills or something like that. He may be evil, but he's still a god. The young man is already beginning to imagine himself in the role of typical professions from the fantasy world. Barbarian or priest, tank or swordsman, if he gets the skill, a new life will shine. The evil god actually wants to pass something on to him. Kijo feels inspired by these words. He confidently begins to assume what it is. Maybe some special ability or something like cheating. But whatever it is, Kijo promises to try hard and use the gift well. It looks like the evil god is annoyed after all. A chess pawn magically appears next to it. A figure hovers in the air between him and Kijo. What a demon wants to pass on to a human is a curse. The young man seems to think that he has misheard. So after a short pause, he asks again with a face full of disbelief. The mockery and annoyance become more pronounced on the face of the evil god. He directly tells kids that the role he will get in the new world is very disturbing to the demon. That is why a person will receive a curse that will forever correct his status. The young man shouts angrily and anxiously, not understanding what God means. Then the latter, forcing the pawn to move, explains in more detail. No matter how many monsters Kijo kills, his status will remain unchanged and will never progress while remaining at the first level. A chess piece approaches the shocked young man. The man shouts angrily not to mess with him, but his body starts to suck somewhere. The evil god decides to start rebirth right now. Then Kijo asks to wait, but in vain. A pawn is cracked by the demon's magic, and a folio of unknown writing is opened in his hands. The final taunt is that he wants Kijo to enjoy this new world as much as possible. Already disappearing in a harsh burst of ribbon-like magic, the young man shouts and asks for at least a little more explanation. But he doesn't get his own explanation. Only the crumbled pawn on the floor of the demonic palace remains after Kijo. The evil god used a large amount of divine energy while doing all this. Even almost all of his dark powers are exhausted, and one of his horns breaks. God is trembling and suffocating from exhaustion. But if he went this far, even the god of creation wouldn't be able to prevent this rebirth. Incredibly tired, the demon falls to all fours to the worried screams of his servant, leaving the magic tome and the piece of horn lying carelessly on the floor. But there is a good point. Now, it seems that the evil god will be able to stabilize himself and gain strength. As he struggles to get up and clean himself up, God confesses that he accidentally gave man a third-class job because of the rules set by the god of creation in the world of gods, and asks his servant to change Kijo's class if possible. The servant replies that even if the person is third class, since they have received a corrected status, they will not be strong enough to kill the demon lord. He can lose even to slime. So the servant assumes that they don't have to worry about the reborn hero anymore. The evil god, finally settling on his throne, agrees with her, and asks him to deal with the consequences while he gets some rest. At first, the servant agrees, but then remembers something. He's not happy because he's already at the limit and just wants to sleep, but still asks what she needs. It turns out that they have not yet decided where this person will be reborn. And if you leave everything as it is, the soul of this otherworlder will wander aimlessly in the realm of the gods. Then the god of creation will know that they have reincarnated Kijo. The evil god asks if they should then reincarnate him, even if it will be something like the life of a slave. The problem is that the servant can't do it with her magic. The evil god must definitely perform the rebirth ritual himself. God sighs in frustration, too sleepy to think, but agrees. Not that he has a choice. He orders you to bring him the possible options. The servant quickly returns with a dartboard and one dart. The demon listlessly twirls the dart between his fingers. All he has to do is throw it at the target. The servant cheerfully raises the board above his head and asks him to do it without hitting it. She knows that this is a necessary ritual, but she also knows that her master is very tired. Therefore, the target was set up in a special way. Almost all of its compartments have the word slave written on them. That is, even if the evil god is tired and yawns when he throws a dart, the chance that Kijo will be reborn as a slave is 90%. Just as the evil god wished, under such conditions, a person would definitely receive a terrible fate, even if the demon is very good at this game, and now the dart is flying, and hits the target, but the result is unexpected for the servant. She's extremely confused. The evil god immediately falls asleep, unaware that he has knocked out the life of an aristocrat by hitting the dead center accurately. The servant seems to be panicking. As you would expect from a god, getting into the 1% chance of obtaining the nobility is too bad. After all, this board is a tool created and infused with a part of the evil god's power. As soon as the decision is made, there will be no second one. All that the servant can do is nervously try to justify himself by saying that it was the evil god who decided the fate of man in this way. Whatever the case, due to the permanent status fix, Kijo definitely won't be able to perform his hero role, so everything will definitely be just fine. At least the servant of the evil god believes that. Meanwhile, the young man is already in the process of being reborn. Engulfed in water-like currents of magic, his body moves through the realm of the gods. So far, it's still him from the old world. Kijo knows his name and age, 17 years old. He knows what happened before he died, and remembers the meeting with God Evil. It still bothers him that he couldn't even ask why he was reborn in the first place. On its way, the soul of a new hero reaches the night city and approaches one of the houses. A glowing blob enters through the window. Kiju remembers that a curse was placed on him, but he doesn't know for what purpose. And he doesn't understand why you had to go through all the trouble of reincarnating him to end up cursing him. But now he finds himself in a dark room. On a large 4-poster bed, he stirs somewhere under the covers. He can't tell if he's really been reborn because his body can't move. It's dark, but warm. There's also something soft about it. Kiju's hand bumps into something rounded and squeezes it. The object turns out to be a woman's breast, and its owner makes a soft moan from such actions. Kijo freezes at this turn of events. The nightlight comes in through the window, allowing Kijo, who is sitting up in bed and looks like a child, to see a beautiful girl in front of him. She also gets up in confusion and says that she is terribly sorry if it was inconvenient for him. The stranger has slightly pointed ears. Now the boy automatically calls the girl by her first name, Tina. And it responds immediately. Somehow, Kiju knows her. Because for the past 5 years, ever since he was born in this world, Tina had been his personal servant and taken care of him. Even now, she's trying to figure out what happened, while the boy blushes and stares down at the hand that unintentionally squeezed her breast. Kijo apologizes and comes up with an excuse to say that he had a terrible dream. Then Tina puts her arms around him affectionately, holding him close, and asks if he'll be relieved if she does something like that. With a gentle expression on her face, Tina says that she will always be there for Kijo, comforting him. And the boy relaxes, really feeling better in her arms. Once upon a time in a good-looking mansion, Tina approached the man with a request to become the personal maid of the child born that day. The man talks to her, marveling at her eagerness to become his tutor. They are standing next to a rich carriage, and the stranger admits that this offer is the best he could have asked for. But he doesn't understand why Tina, whom he treats with respect, wants this. The girl touches a large stone attached to the area of her collarbone. And she says that she has always been waiting for this moment, the moment of his birth. Judging by her outfit in these memories, Tina was a priestess before she became a maid. And now, 5 years later, she is still at Haruto's side, watching with affection as her little charge sleeps. And in the morning, it's time for Kijo to be surprised. The atmosphere in his house shines with wealth and prosperity. He thought that he would start out as a slave or something like that because of an evil god, but he ended up in a noble place. Since he was an aristocrat, wouldn't he be able to live a comfortable life? Tina distracts him by inviting him to breakfast. Even as he looks at the delicious dishes on the table, Kiju reflects that even if he is powerless, he can still cheat using his knowledge from another world. But then Tina offers him mayonnaise for the salad, pulling him out of his thoughts. Kijo agrees, surprised by the suggestion. It tastes just fine too. The boy asks if Tina made the mayonnaise herself, and it turns out that there are many people who are capable of this, because the recipe is widely distributed. Kijo asks again about the recipe, and suddenly understands the situation. Someone came before him. The same recipe for mayonnaise was passed down from a hero who came to this world more than 100 years ago. From the looks of it, the person had already passed on various knowledge to raise the standard of living in this world. And if that's the case, then Kiju himself would at best be known as a genius with no power. All his plans for the future had just collapsed. Already in his room, cursing the evil god, the boy hits the pillow. He screams and cries in anger like the first level. He can't even make a weak punch. And what's more, his level will never be able to rise? Kiju doesn't know what to do now. Tina had warned them that they would start practicing magic tomorrow. But in this life, the boy's sister and 2 brothers are the elite. And the fact that he too will probably be expected to make great progress makes Kijo nervously chew his fingers. Finally, he sighs and wonders if the situation can be improved. He didn't want to disappoint Tina. Kiju waves his hands in front of him, wondering how he can see the status menu. Some of the attempts are triggered, and a window appears in front of the boy. All stats except name, race, and age are marked fixed. There are only 30 points in the health column, and magic and physical and magical attack are 10 in each. This makes Kiju frown. In addition, his condition burns with an unchanging cursed status, also permanent. The boy understands that he shouldn't show this to Tina, which already calls him to bathe, again distracting him from business. Only in the list of professions is there something interesting. A first-level sage. In the bathroom, Tina squeezes Milo onto a sponge. She's dressed herself, but only in my underwear. And even if the maid isn't kneeling in front of Kijo, but behind him, and rubs that very back, the boy still goes through a hard time, blushing. He tries to remember if he always took a bath with Tina. The experience proves too much, and when it's time to go to bed, Kijo, still red, is sitting on the bed, hugging a pillow. He can't look up, but rather resolutely declares that he will sleep alone from now on. So it won't be a big deal if they don't sleep together anymore. This surprises Tina. She's trying to find out if Haruto is unhappy about something. But that's because he has memories of a physically fit 17-year-old boy, and Tina is always too erotic. Of course, Kiju can't tell her the truth, so he shyly shouts that she's fine, he just wants to sleep alone. This seems to shock Tina. There are tears in her eyes as she asks if Kiju is sure of his desire. From this, the boy is lost, but still continues to stand on his own. The maid is obviously upset, but accepts the situation. However, she reminds him that if Kijo ever feels lonely, he can always come to her room. Tina pats the boy who is already lying under the blanket and wishes him a good night. But Kijo doesn't fall asleep right away. He worries if he was too harsh. Compared to his new life, before when he was about 5 years old, Kiju never left his mother alone and was a spoiled brat. He feels sad thinking about his mother and sister, who are probably grieving for him right now. After a short silence, already half asleep, he mumbles about how, as expected, he can't forgive this damned evil god. The next day, Tina still cheerfully greets Haruto. The fact that she's okay makes him feel relieved. Kiju refers to the maid as a teacher, which surprises her. It looks like the boy wants to see her status window, so Tina summons him without question. Kiju's head is spinning from the incredibly high level. His maid, it turns out, has reached 250th. Tina finds this reaction funny. She gently teases the ward, asking if it will be enough for her. Kiju is confused by this. He shyly talks about how strong Tina is, and the maid explains that she is also a bodyguard, hence the power. Smiling, she asks if Kijo is ready for training. The boy nods, though his mind is elsewhere. Next time, he's going to ask why Tina became his personal maid. But for now, they're going to do magic. Tina steps forward, magic starting to form in her palm. The first topic is the lowest level of fire magic. The maid asks Kijo to watch carefully, and shoots a fiery spear at the stone wall, causing a big explosion. The boy freezes in shock. He absolutely doesn't believe that this was the lowest level of magic. Then Tina comes to her senses, and she sees the smoking wreckage of the wall she destroyed. She awkwardly says that she wanted to set a good example for Haruto, so she was too enthusiastic. Because of what happened, Kijo has a question. With such high skills and a lot of experience, Tina can't be an ordinary maid. It confuses her, but she admits it anyway. Generations ago, her great-grandfather had been a hero, and thanks to his blood, raising the level is easy. Tina seems very proud of it. Now it's Kijo's turn to try, and he enthusiastically prepares to follow the instructions. But something is wrong. Just as Tina says, the boy tries to feel his mana and figure out what will happen. The feeling of something warm moving towards his fingertips feels wonderful to him. Tina is also surprised. This warm feeling is mana, and the fact that Kiju was able to feel it from the first time speaks to his good manipulation of mana. But the boy replies that all thanks to the help of a magic circle, which the maid set up in advance. Now Kiju wants to try to collect mana in the palm of his hand, but he is aware that his rapid progress may be too suspicious. So he waves his hand awkwardly, pretending it didn't work out. And then he masterfully acts out his frustration, as if, despite all the mana-gathering work he's just done, he didn't make it. Tina encourages Kijo that he was able to do something like this the first time. In her eyes, this is already an indicator of Haruto's talent. Tina sits down on her knees in front of the boy and takes his hand. Since he is already such a master, the maid is going to let him use magic and asks him to collect mana in his hand, like he did just now. Tina has a supportive smile on her face. Kijo smiles back and follows the instructions, but he is gloomy in his thoughts. Even if everything is fine for now, his curse still exists. Then the maid tells him what the boy should do. He points his hand at a large crystal floating in the air. He closes his eyes. Tina says that the sharper the image, the easier it is to use magic. So Kiju tries to imagine what kind of magic he wants to use. He decides to imitate Tina and releases a small fire spear from his hand. It even turned into a flame. Tina looks very surprised. A thin trickle of smoke comes from the place on the crystal where the magic spear hit. Tina doesn't believe that Kiju was able to shoot the perfect fire spear on the first attempt. She worries if the boy feels exhausted, if everything is fine with his body. But he's fine. This pleases the maid. After all, many people run out of mana when they use it for the first time, despite the fact that lower-level spells only use 2 units of mana. Kijo stretches his arm experimentally and declares that it looks like he can still shoot, so he asks if he can practice again. Tina enthusiastically agrees, but sets a limit of 3 shots. The boy accepts these conditions. He really likes this workout. Kiju didn't feel too well the night before, but so far the results seem quite satisfactory. Even if he was only at the first level, shooting magic was a pleasure. The next day begins at the manor. Tina is going into town to do some shopping. She shows Kijo a small bell and asks him to ring it if the boy suddenly feels unwell. He wonders what will happen then, and the maid replies with a smile that she will immediately come to the bell. She gives back the bell and promises that it will be so, even if she is far away. Now that Tina is gone, Kijo can start his experiments. He wants to see how far he can go because he wasn't tired at all yesterday, even though he shot the fire spear 4 times. The boy stretches his wrists before training, and he resolutely says that he will stop if he gets tired. After that, he begins to summon a fiery spear without interruption. First 2 in a row, then another, and more. In the end, all attempts merge together. So many copies are called by Kijo. The explosions don't stop for a second. It seems strange to him. After all, the boy had already fired 30 times, aiming for the floating crystal. But his mana isn't going to run out at all. Kijo decides to check something out, and opens its status to see statistics that haven't changed at all. Even his mana is still at 10, even though he used it for 30 magic shots. The mana should have decreased, but it didn't. Now Kijo wonders if he can use magic while the status window is open, and finds out experimentally that it is possible. So he fires 3 more fire spears, while holding the status open with his other hand. And immediately after, it looks at its statistics. The mana still hadn't decreased. This confirms Kijo's guesses and makes him ecstatic, all because of a curse placed by an evil god. The fixed label next to the characteristics ensures that their maximum values do not change. But it seems it also fixes statistics figures, not allowing them to change either. This means that even if Kiju uses magic, he won't use up any mana. He wonders if he can get stronger depending on how he uses it. There must be a way to do something thanks to this curse. The boy sits down on the grass and crosses his arms thoughtfully. Given everything he's discovered, he wonders if it's possible to combine speed casting and magic to increase the power of a shot. The rumbling in his stomach distracts him from his grandiose plans. Kijo sighs. It's already noon, and even if his stats don't change, he might still get hungry. He wonders if Tina is still busy. The bell she gave me is right next to it, on top of a couple of books that have been taken outside. Kiju uses it, not really sure if Tina will actually come back because of this. But she appears out of nowhere, terrified. It seems that Tina thought that Haruto rang the bell because he was in danger. From such an appearance, the boy is speechless. He didn't expect that the maid would literally arrive at the sound of the bell in a matter of moments. He'll also think he's hurt. When Kiju awkwardly says that he's just hungry, at first Tina freezes in confusion. Then he realizes it's already noon and excitedly apologizes for being late. She's going to start cooking immediately. Kiju looks at the commotion with a smile. He thinks he's the only one who should apologize. Haruto wants to meet the evil god again, but he also wants to be Tina's pride. Therefore, he must become stronger. Training sessions have moved to nature. The horned rabbit runs straight at Kids, who is being given commands by Tina. The monster is small and slightly wounded in the head, but still looks ferocious. The boy knows what he has to do. He puts out his hand, which is engulfed in fire, and points at the rabbit with his finger, thinking of shooting the flame as thin and sharp as possible. Kijo prepares the spell with the hope that the rabbit will not suffer. Tina helps in the hunt by summoning an ice wall. A running rabbit doesn't have time to slow down, it's too fast. So he hits the ice headfirst. This doesn't do any visible damage to it. Tina warns Kijo to be careful, even if this monster is weak, but he's still a monster. Now the rabbit is running straight at the boy. Other paths are cut off by the ice wall. The fire spear finally shoots out, piercing the monster through and through. Tina praises Haruto for winning with one shot, but the boy, out of breath with excitement, replies that it was all thanks to her magic. Because of the wall, the monster had no choice but to run towards his magic. The maid retorts, noting how calmly Kiju handled the situation, but it was too much of a leap of faith. Right now, he's looking at the rabbit's corpse. A small body lies in the grass, blood visible under it. Knowing that this death is on his hands makes Kiju feel terrible. He puts his hand to his chest, feeling his heart pounding hard. His fingers are shaking. Just recently, this rabbit was bustling around energetically, but now he's dead. Because of Kijo. A shiver runs through the boy's body, and his voice breaks. He tries to tell Tina that he killed a living creature, but he's too ill to speak coherently. This makes Tina uneasy, so she hugs Kiju, trying to support him. She gently explains that this murder was a necessity. The rabbit is weak, but its meat is very tasty, and therefore attracts a large number of predators. This is exactly the world that Kijo lives in. Frequent hunting of these small monsters helps to ensure the safety of the land. Kijo's own aristocratic family is responsible for the territories they are currently in. Therefore, Tina suggests that the boy take care of his only short life. After her words, Haruto pulls himself together and asks if they are going to butcher the rabbit now. Then he asks the maid to teach him how to do it properly. After a brief pause, Tina gently calls him a strong-willed man. In the kitchen of their home, they learn how to cut properly, and later they eat dishes made from the extracted meat. Tina thinks about how much doubt Kiju has, and that she was like that too, for a very long time. The boy takes the first spoonful of rabbit soup. She cries softly at the taste of it. He wipes away his tears, saying that it's delicious. And Tina smiles and thanks for the praise, saying nothing about the rest. He only thinks fondly about how Haruto will definitely become a wonderful magician, because he values his life without hiding it. But Tina has other reasons why she thinks Haruto will be great. The maid works, remembering hints. The rabbit monster couldn't escape from Kiju's fire spear. Moreover, this magic broke through the wall that Tina had summoned, which is incredible. In addition, she knows about some of the boy's affairs. Truth be told, Tina keeps a secret about the power he uses every day while practicing, and that it becomes difficult for the target to withstand this force. A noticeable crater had already formed in the floating crystal. When Tina first saw him, her hands trembled in surprise. Based on the maid's observation, regardless of one's stats, Kiju is constantly getting stronger. She remembers the mysterious man in the timid hope that the boy may be his reincarnation. But it's still too early to decide that. If this is true, Kijo will definitely let her know. Tina melancholy thinks that in any case, not in a hurry to get answers. After all, she had been waiting for him for 100 years. So 5 years pass. Kiju finally enters the Magic Academy. He thinks he can make a lot of friends here. All new students are just being asked to gather in the lecture hall. While the announcement sounds for newcomers who have not yet received their passes, an unknown girl accidentally bumps into someone taller than her. And this provokes a conflict. They immediately start shouting at her. 3 repulsive-looking students accuse the girl of making the encounter painful. One of them, with a strange hairstyle and glasses, pushes at her. After all, she was unlucky enough to run into the son of Baron Zordi. The student points to 2 white stripes on the collar of this aristocrat. This is how the academy shows the status of a student. The girl has only 1 stripe, like the 2 companions of the aristocrat. She's clearly scared and almost crying, but she's still trying to figure out what she can do to make it up to her. The onlookers around immediately begin to discuss what is happening. Someone asks if that girl hit an aristocrat, but another person explains that the average Trinity guy rammed it himself. And the whole scene that is unfolding now is just his desire to exercise his power as an aristocrat. The student explaining all this looks dissatisfied. There's only one stripe on his collar, too. He understands that if there is a chance to harm the poor girl, those three will take advantage of it. So even if it is an aristocrat, the young man raises his hand, ready to use magic and come to her aid. But a hand stops him. Someone asks you to take your time, and he says that he will do something about these guys himself. The young man who was going to help says that this is idiotic and tries to stop the other student. But then she notices his collar. There are 3 lines on it. 3 white lines indicate that their owner is from a count's family. Kijo turns out to be that person. He stands between the 3 of them and the girl without a trace of concern, blocking the latter with his arm, and then resolutely tells the Baron's son and his retinue to leave. After all, the girl does not like their behavior. The aristocratic bully doesn't like it. He's also trying to put pressure on Kidzi with his status, but belatedly sees his collar and cuts himself off in mid-sentence. His friend with a strange hairstyle offers to just leave and not get involved with the Count's son. Kijo almost threateningly tells them to leave if the questions are over. He doesn't want the situation to escalate further. Dissatisfied, but the 3 instigators of the conflict leave. The courtyard finally gets quiet. Kijo then turns to the injured girl and asks if she is okay. The situation was really unfortunate, but he asks the student not to be offended, because not all aristocrats are like those who caused her trouble. Still on the verge of tears, the girl says she's fine. And thanks, Kidza. After all, he was the only one who had tried to save her, and successfully. She admits that she was very scared when she was suddenly surrounded. The guy that Kijo stopped earlier intervenes in the conversation. He loudly apologizes for his rudeness, because he had no idea that Haruto was the son of an earl. The young man asks with a grin that really, if he were not a nobleman, he would be a real idiot. Another student apologizes even more sheepishly. But Kijo says with a sly smile that everything is fine and he doesn't need an apology. After all, he would like the guy to show his sincerity with actions. This leaves the young man perplexed. Then Kijo directly invites them to become friends, which shocks the student even more. Kijo continues to tease him, saying that if he doesn't want to, the Count will find out who called his son an idiot. The guy is nervous and yells not to blackmail him, since he said that he wants to make friends. Haruto holds out his hand, asking if that's not the way to joke around with friends. He had already made up his mind, and the other student has no choice but to agree. The boys shake hands. Kijo's new friend's name is Rook. The girl watching the scene wants to say something. She asks to be their friend too, embarrassed, but with a clearly improved mood. Kijo happily accepts it, rejoicing in yet another friend. He even continues his playful demeanor by introducing Rook. It's all the more embarrassing for him that Kiju called him Buddy. The girl introduces herself as Luna and asks to take care of her. Now the 3 of them are holding hands, cementing an agreement to become friends. The admission ceremony ends unexpectedly quickly. Class lists will be posted only tomorrow. After all, Kijo invites new friends to visit him. According to the Academy's rules, aristocrats do not live in dormitories. Instead, they are allocated houses on the territory of the educational institution. Luna enthusiastically agrees. Rook says that according to the map, they should get there soon, but Kiju isn't so sure. It's weird, but it doesn't seem like he can find his home. Rook then points out an overly luxurious mansion they pass by and suggests that it is the one they need. Kiju doesn't know how to react to this. He does not believe that such a large and decorated house was provided for him. Luna, meanwhile, says that this huge mansion must also have maidservants. She marvels at the strength of the Count's family. Rook just stares at the building with a blank face. Dispelling all the uncertainty, Tina runs out of the house and greets Kijo. Now his guests are amazed by the beauty of the maid. Kijo introduces them as the friends he made today. This pleases Tina. Her ward is finally not alone. She congratulates Haruto. With a confused and satisfied face, he thanks Tina and says that he would like to eat with his friends since he brought them here. Tina immediately goes to prepare the food, but for now asks the children to wait in the living room and relax. Luna very happily agrees. When the students are alone, She talks about tomorrow's distribution and hopes that all three of them will end up in the same class. Rook agrees with her. There will be a lot of classes, so it would be great if they were together. Tina listens to them from the other side of the door and thinks about something. The next day arrives. Luna is happy that they've actually become classmates, while Rook suspects using the Count's connections. Kijo confusedly denies it, because he didn't say anything. The three of them go to a tall, bright building. This is their classroom, which looks more like a separate small building. The same ones are allocated to everyone else. It seems that this is the privilege of freshmen. Kijo firmly suggests that we go inside. They were the last, now all 10 students of this class are gathered. The trio is first met by an elf girl, Lifa, and a girl with the features of a beast, Melody. They are very friendly. Then a brother and sister are introduced with scales that can be seen on the skin. In places, their names are Ryushin and Ruika. A girl in a traditional kimono says that she should be called Yuko and should be treated well. Kiju notices her foxtails, wondering if he's the only one who sees them. The last ones are the identical girls Mai and Mei. Now it's the turn of the trio of friends. Rook speaks first, then a confused but joyful Moon. Finally, Haruto completes the introduction. Now everyone can take their seats at their desks. Lifa asks if Kijo is the Count's son. He doesn't deny it, but he warns that in this class he would rather be himself than the son of a Count's family, and asks not to worry about his status. The elf is obviously pleased to hear this. Melody, too active to sit properly, asks Kiju if his friends could have gotten into this class because of him. Without much confidence, the young man replies that he did not ask for such a thing, but it is quite possible if his father suddenly intervened. Ryushin is more concerned about why their class doesn't already know the name of the designated teacher, and Ruika shares that concern. But the teacher is already on her way to them. Mai and Mei are the first to notice her. Then Kijo reacts. Conversations are interrupted when the teacher enters the classroom. Kiju jumps up, surprised to see Tina here. But the maid, who has changed into a more appropriate outfit for the academy, strictly asks him to address her as a teacher. This silences the young man, startled. Now Tina introduces herself to everyone officially. She's their instructor, Tina Haribel, and will be teaching their class from now on. Yuko repeats Tina's full name. The students are sitting quietly in their seats, except for Kiju, who is still standing in confusion, and Melody, who is almost lying down at the table in a cat-like manner. Fox asks if this is not the name of the same elf who helped the hero kill the demon lord 100 years ago. It turns out that Yuko is right. That's the name. And the elf girl. All the students are shocked by the new knowledge. Then Kijo realizes that all this time her level was so high not because she is a descendant of the hero, and involuntarily wonders how old Tina is. She corrects the young man again, asking him to call her teacher, and adds that asking a woman her age is bad. Kijo apologizes awkwardly. Then Lifa raises her hand to ask a question. For many elves, Tina Haribel is a legendary figure, but she went missing after the hero killed the demon lord, so Lifa asks for proof. She wants to make sure that Tina is who she says she is, but she doesn't worry about it. And he proves it in the fastest way possible, by showing his stats on the board. Her level is still 250, and it's still a shocking figure. There is no longer any doubt. Luna is amazed that the one who made them such a delicious meal just yesterday was so strong. But Yuko still has some questions. She doesn't understand why Tina, with such a high level and status, would become their teacher. The answer is immediate and ridiculous. Tina just wants to kill sometime. All the students are at a loss because of him. Then Tina explains. Rook and Luna already know, because they came to spend time with Haruto at their house. But now the others also know about Tina's main job. More specifically, that she was their classmate's maid. Tina came to this school with her ward to continue taking care of him, but she has to spend most of her time in the mansion, so there's too much free time. At this time, she caught sight of an announcement about the search for teachers. But Kiju notices that in the process of explaining, Tina made a gesture that she uses every time she tries to hide something. He wants to know exactly what she's hiding. During the lesson, Tina explains more about the system at the academy. Luna is excited that they will have to fight for their class once a month. Their buildings are located close to shops selling cakes and pancakes. And it allows you to use one of the large libraries owned by the academy. It's a pretty good place. And so, there will probably be a lot of classes that will try to compete with them for it. Tina asks the students to do their best to keep the current classroom for them. Rook clarifies whether stronger candidates will be prioritized if it comes to competing for a classroom. And so it is. Ultimately, they would probably have to go up against the upperclassmen every time during the competition. Ruika and Lifa object. It doesn't seem right to them that new students should fight against experienced students. After all, such conditions make the chance to stay in the current class rather small. But Tina is sure that each of her students has the potential to gain impressive power. Besides, as long as she's in charge of everything, there's nothing to worry about. Kijo doesn't understand the source of her conviction. Finally, it's time to act. Tina invites everyone to get to know each other's magic. She has already prepared a target, a magic crystal, and now asks everyone to demonstrate their magic skills. Kijo recognizes this target, exactly the same one he had as a child. Meanwhile, Ryushin asks if it will be okay if he uses his full strength, and Tina encourages him to do so. After all, right now the students will be competing in strength. They need to know the limits of their companions' abilities, because this is the first step to understanding each other better. After listening to the instructions, Lifa is called to be the first to show off her magic skills. Tina asks her to show off her best move, and magic begins to form in the elf's palm. She summons a bow and arrow, immediately getting into a shooting position. Then he closes his eyes, gathering his thoughts and concentrating his magic. He exhales and shoots using the wind arrow. It slams hard into the target crystal. This amazes Kijo, because it is incredibly difficult to pierce him with wind magic alone. Usually, even to break off a piece from Tina's targets, you need to apply a huge amount of strength. Tina praises the piercing power of Lifa's arrow. Next up are Mai and Mei. So, the teacher invites them to start. The twins' magic is a little unique. They cast a spell together, touching their palms. Ribbons of fire and ice form patterns in the air around them. This is the harmonious ray spell. After this blow, the target slightly smokes. Merging magic from opposing attributes to such an extent is an amazing achievement. Rock begins to understand why these girls are in sync. Ryushin is called next to attack. He touches his right forearm and applies dragon transformation. Then the right hand becomes more covered with scales, and the nails become strong and long black claws. Ryushin smiles confidently. Tina explains to the other students that Ryushin is able to change a part of his body for use in combat. Now he's preparing to strike, and he uses the dragon's swing, slashing the air with great force with his changed hand. The target splits into pieces from this impact. It turns out that Ryushin is a warrior mage from the dragon race. Lifa is a little displeased because she also wanted to destroy the target. Rook awkwardly assumes that this was due to accumulated damage from past students, so the crystal collapsed. Ruika, who is next in line after her brother, asks Tina what to do when the target is destroyed, but Tina asks her to use her imagination. Then Ruika also uses dragon transformation. The scales on her skin become slightly larger. But her skill is not attacking the girl uses resurrection on crystal fragments. Luna is amazed that it worked. The target is now intact again, thanks to Miko's dragon recovery magic. It looks like Tina knew this was going to happen. This magic is able to restore an item to its original state, as long as it has magical power. Ruika seems embarrassed that Tina explained this to everyone. Kiju is struck by this magic. In this world, humans and magical creatures leave their life force in the body for about a day after death. Everyone knows that resurrection magic is limited to an hour after death, but this dragon spell can revive those who have died no more than a day ago. Kiju finally understands why Tina is so confident of their success. Each of those who have already shown themselves to be very strong. Therefore, Kijo is sure that the remaining ones are not far behind. Then, he realizes something else. Kito himself is also among these outstanding personalities, but he's still at the first level because of the evil god's curse. This situation is quite annoying. And Kiju still hadn't told Tina that he was staying at the first level because of the evil god's curse. This causes him to frantically grab his head, which draws Yuko's attention. Now that the target is restored, Tina suggests that we continue the lesson. Melody is going to go next. Luna offers to help her with her magic, and Melody happily agrees. Kijo and Rook look on in shock as their friend casts spells. She decided to use the best improvements on Melody. Increase magic power limit, enchant magic power, max magic power, increase physical power limit, strengthen attack power, and in the end, raising the speed and concentrated strengthening. Even Melody looks shocked by so many spells. She awkwardly thanks Luna for her help. She likes it. This is the first time Melody has used so much support magic. Power surges through her body. She confidently punches towards the target, summoning Hikuken, Flying Air Fist. The ghostly silhouette of her arm flies towards the target, smashing into it and leaving cracks. And then the crystal is destroyed again. Now most of it is dust. In addition, a large dent appears in the stone wall of the training ground. Rook realizes that the target has finally met its end, and Ryushin is shattered by how badly he lost to this blow. Even Melody herself is surprised by the result. She realizes that she was strengthened with too many spells. Only the moon is in full ecstasy. He and Melody seem to be a perfect match. But Yuko doesn't like it. She disappears from the playground, unnoticed, while Tina thanks everyone for their efforts. The magic of the 8 students has already been demonstrated, so the teacher asks which of the remaining 2 will be next. Kijo reacts. He doesn't feel very well. He has a strange premonition. In addition, the young man does not want to use cheats unless absolutely necessary. So he tries to call first, but Rook gets there faster, leaving a confused Kiju behind. Rook waves him off irritably, because Haruto learned magic from Tina and is strong anyway. So let him brag about it at the very end. Kiju feels that this isn't going to end well, the weight of the first level pressing down on his shoulders. The target has been restored, so training can continue. Rook looks excited. An impressive magic circle appears under his feet, and the young man begins to recite the spell. He calls out for hope in this devastating thunder hammer. Ruika seems to know what kind of magic Rook wants to use. And he continues. He speaks of the grace of power by forming a new circle at his hand, appeals to the agreement and asks to listen to it. Untie the bonds of his power. And calls the name Ulta. Lightning bolts hit the target. Lifa and the twins are shielding themselves from the side effects of the blow. The target disappears completely, and a crater appears in the ground. Rook had just used high magic. It turns out that his full name is Rook Velifrus, grandson of the president of Anno, who is the head and sage of the Afula School of Magic. Like his grandfather, Rook is one of the few wizards who can master one of the branches of high magic. Now it's Haruto's turn, but he's at a complete loss. How can you even use magic after this? But Tina excitedly asks to show only the best 30% of his strength, because that will be enough. Kijo is surprised by this request. It looks like Tina is really worried. She directly puts the limit at 30% and asks not to be serious, because otherwise the training ground will break. Ryushin is perplexed by such instructions. Since the teacher told them to show them the best, and Kiju puts limits on it, is his magic really that strong? Rook doesn't understand either. After all, even high magic used with all its power was something normal, but Tina stops Haruto like he's stronger than even that. Kiju hears all this, and the words of his classmates hit him like real blows. Suddenly, it dawns on him. Tina's probably giving him a weakened target. After all, he knows that he is only capable of low-rank magic, and she worries that her ward is the weakest one here. By raising the 30% restriction flag, Tina plans to let Haruto destroy the weakened target, so that everyone in the class thinks of him as a strong person. So, all he has to do is try his best and break the target in the most vivid way possible. So he says he understood her instructions, confused by the plan, but warns her that he can't exactly stick to 30%, even if he tries. Tina looks relieved. She is going to strengthen her defensive magic to protect everyone else, and asks them to stand closer. Kiju can't afford to waste Tina's efforts, so he stands in front of the target with all seriousness. His maximum magic power is 10, so he can only use the lowest level magic that consumes the same amount of mana or less at a time. So Kiju is going to apply this magic in layers. The power consumption is equal to 10, Then, in about 5 seconds, he would be able to create a mass of magic power equivalent to 100,000 mana points and convert it into a fire attribute. Kiju has a curse that fixed his status, so no matter how much he uses it, the stats won't change. Magic is formed on the open palm of the serious Haruto. Tina starts to worry. She already doubts that this is the agreed 30%. Behind her, Luna and Melody are also a little nervous, but Kiju enthusiastically thinks that everything is fine. After all, if it is going to be bright, then the target should explode. This is logical. Therefore, it also applies explosive darkness and thunder magic in about 1,000 layers, just at the tip of the spell. He raises his hands above him. Everything is ready for use. It remains only to run, with all your might. Kiju concentrates, and launches a fiery spear. Tina tries to stop him, but it's too late. At this time, Yuko is outside the training ground. She thinks it's lovely that she has the opportunity to see the hero. But now the fox is in a special room, near a rack with alchemical dishes. She turns the empty flask over in her hands, thinking, and he starts going through everything, hoping to find something useful. But she is distracted by an unexpected strong explosion that has even reached here. Yuko looks up in alarm, not understanding what has happened. She quickly makes her way back to the playground, dust hanging over the test field, and all the students are nervously silent as they watch. Lisa doesn't understand why everyone is frozen. But then he sees that the wall surrounding the site is badly destroyed, and even the ground was deeply dug by someone's magic. Tina managed to stop the spell before it went too far, but it came at a high price. She shivers as she tries to catch her breath. Her hands are injured, and her clothes are all frayed. There are tears in her eyes, and her face looks like she's about to faint. Kiju doesn't understand what just happened. Tina approaches him with a threatening step, and the young man tries to apologize. But she interrupts him, trembling. After all, the request was clear, only 30%. Kiju himself looks terrified by what has happened. Tina cries, reprimanding him. She barely managed to fend off the magic. If Tina hadn't done this, even the central district would have suffered greatly. This never happened at home. But when Kiju nervously tries to say it, Tina screams. She asks him not to compare the way he trains at home and classes at the Magic Academy. After all, in their mansion, she spends a lot of time creating many layers of barrier. Right now, Tina could barely stand his magic. His classmates start whispering behind him. Haruto is now incredibly dangerous in their eyes. After all, the barriers and target were reinforced more strongly than before, and Tina, at level 250, can barely block his magic, which is incredible. Besides, Kiju wasn't amplified like Melody was before. In their eyes, this power is simply absurd. Everything that happens makes Haruto feel very uncomfortable. Tina finishes today's classes and asks everyone to go home or go to their rooms. She'll contact them later. A worried Lifa looks around as she leaves, but no one contradicts the teacher. Then an angry, tearful Tina turns to Haruto and orders him to stay. He knew it would happen, so he doesn't even try to object. They enter the room. Kiju tries to apologize to Tina again. She will remove all the consequences, but reminds you that she asked you not to use all your strength. Haruto confirms this. He's confused, but he still doesn't realize how serious this is. But Tina is still shaking. She bluntly says that she thought she was going to die. That's when Kiju finally gets scared. Then Tina clarifies. She would be literally dead if something didn't help her. In her trembling palm are strange fragments. It's a stone pendant that Tina always wore. It turned out to be a magical artifact. If her life is in danger, the artifact is activated, but it is disposable, and much more importantly, its functions. This item Tina received from someone dear to her, and now that he's lost her, he can't stop crying. Kiju starts apologizing even more nervously. He says he didn't know how destructive his spells were, and promises to do whatever Tina tells him to do. Frustrated and angry, she asks again, and Haruto repeats his promise, asking her to stop crying. Then Tina unintelligibly asks for something, bursting into tears. Kiju doesn't hear it the first time, so Tina screams. She asks, as before, to sleep together again at least once. Haruto remembers the day he first announced that he was going to sleep alone at the age of 5. Because of his silence, Tina suspects that Kiju wants to refuse, so she shouts even louder, acting up. But he quickly agrees. The young man is much more interested in whether Tina is okay. Still on the verge of hysteria, too scared to control herself, she claims she's fine, but immediately asks for a hug if she can. It unsettles Kijo at first, but he doesn't mind, even if he doesn't understand the change in Tina's mood. She keeps thanking me loudly for my permission, wiping away her tears in vain, and rushes off to cling to a Kijo who didn't expect it to happen so quickly. But he can only watch Tina seriously. It was his fault that she was so scared. All Kiju can do is keep apologizing. At first, he's embarrassed to hug Tina back, but still, he strokes her hair, reinforcing her guilty words. In his arms, Tina finally stops shaking. Through her tears, she smiles. Haruto's warmth calms her down. When night finally falls, Tina changes the terms of their deal and now insists that they sleep together not just tonight, but always. Kiju is confused, but of course he can't say no to her after what happened. Already in bed, ready for bed, they continue to talk. After all these years, Kijo asks why Tina became his maid. She warns that if she talks about it, the young man will fall asleep much later than necessary. But Haruto doesn't care. He wants to hear her story. Tina's story and why she decided to become his maid really excites Kijo. He takes her hand gently, reassuring her. After all, it wouldn't be strange if Tina worked for the country, given her abilities. Even though his father had wealth and power in this world, it wouldn't be enough to hire her. It seems that she declined invitations on behalf of the country. In this period where there are no heroes from another world, even a county couldn't do as they pleased with someone who had the power equal to a hero. Then Tina begins the story, looking sad. A very long time ago, she was close to the heroes who were moved from another world in order for them to kill the demon lord. But among those heroes was a man Tina adored. He wasn't the most important person in the group, but whenever he heard about monsters destroying villages and cities, he would rush straight there. That was the kind of person this hero was, protecting the weak no matter what. It was he who gave the entire group the courage to face the horde of monsters. This man might not have defeated the Demon King, but to Tina, he was a true hero. They often spent time together. This story gives Kijo strange visions. Tina, in her old clothes, crying and disheveled, turns to him. He holds his head against the strange sensations. At some point, Tina fell in love with that man. According to the rules of this world, heroes will be immediately sent back to their original world after defeating the Demon King. And so, she genuinely thought that they couldn't possibly be interested in the people of this world. But the man had responded to her wishes. Kiju sees the image of taking Tina's hand, and she smiles brightly at him. But it doesn't understand what these images are, so he gets distracted by asking if Tina and the man have become lovers or not. This causes embarrassment for the elf. They wave their hand and say that their relationship has never gone so far. This strikes Kijo as endearing. He wonders if Tina has no experience in such matters. He feels sorry for her, but at the same time, he's a little happy. Meanwhile, she gets up from the bed, still talking. Those wonderful times came to an end when that man's companions killed the Demon King. The heroes couldn't figure out if they could stay in this world. Tina's lover tried his best to stay with her, but there was nothing he could do. Kijo remembers that she is the granddaughter of the previous hero, which means that her great-grandfather left his family and returned to his home world. After all, this is the logic of this world. Suddenly, Kijo realizes that the artifact he destroyed was given to her by the hero Tina loved. She says something happened once. Tina felt that a person with magic similar to that of a hero was born in this world, and since then she believed that Kijo was his reincarnation. This amazes the young man. Tina thought she wouldn't be wrong about his magic power. Haruto is sorry to upset her, but she already knows that Haruto is a reincarnated person, but not that hero. Sometimes Tina still thinks that Kijo and her lover might be the same person. She moves closer to him, touching his face gently. But from a very young age, Tina watched him train, without stopping. Every day, she watches Haruto train, and eventually, the hero's footprints showing themselves started to intersect with him. Tina was always watching Kiju. She hoped that her lover would reincarnate. But now, while hugging Kiju, she confesses, the current Tina is pining for Haruto. He's embarrassed about it, but he's happy. so she asks if she feels good with him. Tina immediately agrees. Then Kijo takes her hands and promises that he would become stronger, even stronger than that hero, so that he could protect her and this world. He asks if Tina will be with him from now on. She seems startled by this, but with tears of joy in his eyes, he says that, of course, he will always be with Haruto. The conversation ends on a good note, and now Kiju has decided on his goal in this world. He's going to get stronger. Even more powerful than the hero who killed the Demon King, and then the one Tina loved, strong enough to protect her and the world. In the morning, Tina gets up first. In her maid costume, she opens the curtains in the bedroom and wakes Haruto up. Breakfast is ready. The young man sits up in bed, preparing to get up. Then Tina asks him for permission to do something. He comes closer and puts his hand on the other person's face. Kids reacts in surprise, and then their faces are incredibly close, and Tina kisses him. Even though Kiju can't level up because of the curse, there are still many things he can do. And when Tina with that face asks him, her hero, to take care of her, despite her inexperience, Kijo can't help but make plans for how he will gain power and be recognized by the world as a sage. Their hands touch. He will strive to become the strongest sage of the first level and become her hero. At the entrance to the classroom, Kijo and Tina are greeted by a stone gatekeeper in the form of a small statue of a winged creature. The young man is still uneasy from yesterday's destruction, so he came here first of all from the class. He is interested in whether the training ground that he destroyed is still under repair, but the repair was completed by workers who worked all night. This speed surprises Kijo, but Tina explains that the Count has prepared some very highly skilled dwarves for them. Mentioning your father makes the situation clearer. Tina has a staff meeting right now, so they have to go their separate ways. On the way to the study room, Kijo passes by the playground, noticing how well the place has been renovated. At first, a lot of things happened, but thanks to Tina, he has gained enough knowledge and can use the magic of each attribute. Their rooms even have separate lockers for everyone's outerwear. So Kijo walks into the classroom without his raincoat on. He had already decided that even if the noble's influence went so far that they could find out about his first level, he would be able to deal with it somehow. Regardless of his family's influence, Kijo is determined to use everything he can because he has two goals. But from the thoughts of the young man who has sat down in his place, a strange voice distracts him. Someone behind his back says that Haruto's magic yesterday was extraordinary. Kiju stiffens from not noticing someone's presence. He turns around in shock to see Yuko standing behind him. The fox says that even she is afraid of the power of his magic. Kiju recognizes a classmate, but can't figure out how long she's been here. It turns out that Yuko was here long before he entered the classroom. It makes him wonder. But it reminded him of yesterday. Even Tina didn't count Yuko as being present. So he asks if the girl was at the training ground, since they never saw her magic. This makes the fox look at him strangely, but then she brings her finger teasingly up to the other person's face and laughs. After all, Kiju had seen her magic before. He had to pay attention to the fact that no one noticed that she wasn't even in training. Yuko's magic is to thin out her existence and make her presence weaker. Haruto understands this in a way that makes it harder for people to notice her. This magic is a high-level magic, and its effect makes it harder for those who want to deal Yuko physical damage. The fox's boast that few people can use such a thing is interrupted by Kiju's reverie. He asks another question, which makes Yuko tense up. After all, the young man is interested in what kind of magic is the one that allows you to restrain its tails. The fact that Kiju brought it up makes Lisa both horrified and angry at the same time. It looked like no one was supposed to see those tails, including Kiju. The top strands of Yuko's hair, which look like ears, twitch. Haruto responds with the same friendliness until he notices the change. He can actually see them, but it's been very faint since yesterday. Only when he's finished speaking does Kijo notice something is amiss. The atmosphere around Yuko darkened, her hands trembled, and her tails spread out in a bizarre bouquet. She can't believe anyone saw them. Now she had no choice but to kill Kiju, so Yuko took up a fighting stance, and even her fox ears showed. This causes the young man to freeze in confusion. For some reason, his classmate had become very dangerous. Without much emotion, he asks her to stop it, because they are comrades. But Yuko doesn't listen to him. She's lost in thought. Since Kiju is abnormal, with her current level of strength, she can't win. Haruto tries to get her attention by promising not to tell anyone about it, since Yuko doesn't want anyone to know. But it is still ignored. Instead, the fox seemed to have made up its mind. Her tails abruptly begin to move towards Kijo, and they wrap around it, tying it up. Yuko then firmly grabs the youth's right wrist with a very threatening face. She kisses the back of his hand. Magic bursts out of this place, a translucent hieroglyph imprinted on the skin. Yuko enters into a contract. A flash flashes through Kiju's mind. It seems that he is not well from what is happening. He was too careless, and if the fox uses this magic power, there's a chance that he won't be able to resist her. Kiju reflexively grabs Yuko by the shoulders, pushing her away from him, yelling that he can't even move freely. But then he realizes what he's just done. He looks blankly at his hands, which are moving as usual. Then Yuko says that Kijo got it all wrong, and the situation is exactly the opposite. They had completed the master and servant contract. Now Yuko serves him and is under his protection. She is a nine-tailed fox, a demon that grows by storing magical power in its tails. This species also has the ability to transform into humans. There are concerns that they can cause natural disasters when fully grown. And Yuko came to this academy in order to collect magic power. And since she is capable of brainwashing with magic, when she has accumulated her magic power to a certain extent, she will manipulate everyone here at will and make this area her base center. Kiju hits the top of her head with the edge of his hand, stopping her. Offended, the fox grabs the injured spot and indignantly asks what he is doing. But Kijo can also get annoyed, especially after such speeches. Yuko continues that taking control of the academy is just the beginning. One day this entire country, even the entire world, will tremble in fear under her rule. She furiously agitates her new master to go down this path of domination with her. Then Kiju hits her again. From such treatment, Yuko begins to cry because of resentment and pain. She is outraged that Kijo doesn't stop doing this, but he's more worried about the fox leaving those dangerous thoughts behind. Yuko doesn't understand. She furiously asks why Kiju isn't interested in total domination when he has so much power and power. Maybe he doesn't realize that if he cooperates with her, one day the whole world will belong to him. This makes Kiju look a little grim. He had the desire to become unrivaled in this world when he was first summoned by the evil god. If he wasn't damned, Yuko's words might even have affected him. But now everything is different. He is not interested in world domination. Therefore, Kijo resolutely declares that he is not a demon lord. He wants to be a hero. This makes Yuko look grim and threatening again. She didn't seem to like his words at all. She doesn't believe that Kiju wants to be a hero. They stand facing each other, tense. Doesn't Kiju understand that nine-tailed foxes like her are considered a natural disaster? Yuko is sure that when he noticed her tails, he wanted to use the magic power stored in them. And that's the only reason I didn't tell anyone the truth about her. In a fit of rage, Yuko's head explodes with pain. Tears come to her eyes. Kiju anxiously tries to approach, but Lisa is too distracted by these feelings. She doesn't understand what's going on. Pictures of the winter forest pop up in her mind. Small feet tread on the snow. The nine-tailed fox cub is confronted by people who at first are moved, taking her for an ordinary cub, but then recognize the demon. Yuko is still very young, and she already has to run away from those who want to catch her in order to sell her at a very high price. A frightened child, she was mercilessly captured. And when help arrived, an adult nine-tailed fox, Yuko's hatred of people, especially heroes, was born. After all, they, who possess great power, put her on a chain. And then, in front of her eyes, while she begged her to stop, they killed her mother. Remembering all this, Yuko angrily wipes away her tears. She asks why they kill them as soon as they see them. She gets angry and accuses Kijo of being just like those heroes, making her his own. It's not yet fully developed. Now Kijo understands that it is time to intervene in the monologue. He holds out his hand. He gently strokes Yuko's head. With a sad look, he says he understands. Well, now Yuko herself doesn't understand. Kijo recalls that he has already promised not to tell anyone about her, and he says he's not going to abuse her power. But Lisa warily asks what then about the contract she just made with him. He is called useless by Kijo, much to Yuko's shock. After all, even without this contract, he wouldn't have harmed her. They're classmates, so it won't be a big deal if she cancels it. But Lisa stiffly admits that she can't do it. In order to get under the protection of someone stronger, she had to form a bond with Kiju using the magic power of one of her tails. And since this connection is extremely strong, Yuko will not be able to cancel it. Then, the young man asks if it will be all right if he does it. Yuko shyly rejects this option as well. Such a contract termination would hurt her in the process, and it would be a huge problem for her, so she would try to stop kids from doing it. He doesn't understand why all this is happening, because such a one-sided contract is not at all profitable for Yuko. But when Haruto tries to figure out what he's really like, the details of the contract flashed through his mind, thanks to the nine-tailed fox's magic. According to them, Yuko will obey Kiju's orders, as long as her life is not in danger. Now the fox is serious, and not too happily explains that she will give him everything except her life. Completely out of keeping with the atmosphere created by Yuko, Kiju begins to act condescending and relaxed. It's too friendly to look at a fox. For some reason, he felt like patting Yuko's head, and immediately did so, making her make an embarrassed cat sound. It seemed that he now had a desire to protect this vixen. After a while, Rook enters the audience. He says hello, but breaks off in the middle of it. Instead, he asks Haruto what the hell is going on. After all, Yuko is lying on his lap, enjoying the strokes quite a bit. Rook looks like he doesn't really want to know the details, but he still notices that the two of them have become close. Kijo doesn't deny it. He asks the fox to return to her place, because soon all the others will come. She doesn't mind, but she clearly doesn't want to. Still, since her master says so, she will do it. After all, the warm and blurry feeling she gets when Kiju strokes her head like a pet is his kindness. So Haruto got an obedient demonic pet that has the power of a natural disaster. Later, when he and Tina are returning from the academy, the elf is going to ask kids a question. Then he knows what she's noticed: the presence of someone behind him. So Tina asks Yuko to come out, immediately realizing who exactly is hiding here. In the special effects cloud, the fox shows itself. She praises Tina because, as expected, she was able to notice Yuko's presence, despite not being connected to her. In response, the teacher thanks her for the compliment, but does not understand why one of the students follows them. And what kind of contract he's talking about. Kiju is about to explain everything to a sulky Tina, but when he tells you exactly what happened, Tina seems even more displeased. She summons a magic circle and calls Yuko simply the demon that possessed Haruto. The fox hides fearfully behind him, while Kiju just stands in front of the gathering light of the spell and doesn't understand why Tina is angry. In the meantime, there are more and more magic circles, which scares both students. Yuko tries to call out to Tina, asking her to stop and claiming that she completely obeys Haruto. He himself tries to talk some sense into the elf, promising that he won't let the fox behave badly, so Tina should stop trying to hurt her. The evil heroine, however, is not going to stop. She believes that the only reason Kiju wants to protect Yuko is because of their contract. From such pressure, the fox falls to the ground, trembling, and with tears in her eyes, asks the owner to help her. Tina is really going to kill her, but Haruto isn't going to stand by anymore. He blocks Tina's path to Yuko and shouts for her to calm down. This seems to work. Kiju then reveals that unlike Yuko, he doesn't have a seal on him, so the consequences of the contract don't affect him. This comes as a surprise even to the fox. Not like for Tina. When Kiju checked his status, he was still cursed, so it gave him confidence that the contract didn't affect him as much as Yuko thinks. Another of his arguments is that Yuko is cute, and when she's so upset, he wants to protect her. Another round of pats on the head distracts Lisa from her recent horror, but it only seems to make Tina angrier. Then it's time for the demo. Kiju first orders Yuko to stand up, to which she instantly responds by following the order. But the next task makes even Tina lose her temper and lose her temper, because Kijo says to scroll once, meowing. Yuko is horrified by such an order, but life is more expensive, so she diligently performs her task. Satisfied, Kijo backs up his words of complete submission with irrefutable evidence. Tina is more forgiving now, but still thoughtful, while Yuko whimpers in Haruto's direction, reminding him that she's a fox, not a cat. Tina moves on to the really important question. After all, even though Yuko is subordinate to Kijo, she is still capable of attacking or brainwashing anyone. Then the young man takes the fox by the hand with the seal, and prohibits her from maliciously attacking others without permission. Yuko accepts the ban. Still holding her hand, Kiju continues to coax Tina. Now there will be no problems with possible attacks, and he promises to make the fox constantly be near him when she has nothing to do, so that Kiju can look after her. More than arguments, Tina's gaze is fixed on their continued physical contact. She finally gave up, but the last embarrassing objection remained. Although things are different at school, Tina feels that leaving the demon alone with Haruto would be dangerous. Especially since Yuko is a girl, and if she's always there, Tina will have to worry about Haruto's chastity. Hearing this, Yuko makes a sly face, while Kiju himself is perplexed. It looks like the fox has thought of something. On the way to their mansion, while the young man tried to appease Tina in every possible way, Yuko made a plan. Tina is currently Haruto's maid. And since Yuko's master is the child of her employer, Lisa is sure that she won't mind if it's Yuko who takes the first time Kijo. With these thoughts, the demon steps onto the threshold of the mansion. And when night falls, she's going to use her charm. Yuko seems delighted with the sinful plan she's making. But when it's time to get ready for bed, the plan is destroyed. After all, Tina appears in a new nightgown, and she is very unhappy that the fox is found in her and Haruto's bed. Yuko replies that this is the safest place, and the boy is temporarily unavailable because the sight of Tina is too exciting for him. Now it's Yuko's turn to ask why the maid is here. She wasn't going to sleep with Kiju, was she? Tina takes this question as a challenge. And even if the fox is outraged by this, because the elf is their teacher, that's no reason for Tina not to sleep with Haruto. And he finally comes to his senses, even if not completely, and finally suggests to go to bed. A separate invitation to bed was required for the maid. She's embarrassed, but she's not going to back down, and literally jumps up to Haruto, immediately snuggling up to one side. He obviously likes everything, as long as Yuko doesn't know how to react to such behavior. Her gaze falls on Tina's chest, pressed against someone else's hand. And all hopes of your own charm are dashed to smithereens. Now Kijo has to call the upset Yuko as well, so the night passes. Tina wakes up first, just like she always does. She's about to go make breakfast, but what's happening in bed distracts her for a second. Haruto is sleeping peacefully while Yuko is curled up on his shoulder in her full fox form. Tina just can't get mad at that. Already in the middle of cooking, Yuko also comes to the kitchen. She wonders what the maid is doing. Moreover, it smells good from here, and the sliced egg omelet looks delicious. Tina suggests that Lisa try it out. He even holds it out on sticks right up to her mouth. The omelet slice is too big for Yuko, but she's doing fine and feels its incredible taste. This is the first time she's ever eaten something so incredible. It turns out that omelet is Haruto's favorite dish. Yuko looks at the remaining portion with a look of expectation, and even if Tina was still upset that there was another girl in the house, she sighs condescendingly and says that this dish is quite easy to make, and then offers to teach it to Yuko. She's surprised that she can make it too, and enthusiastically says that he wants to learn. Then Tina smiles and in response asks for help with her housework, since Yuko will be under Haruto's care from now on.
Tina Harble, who was teaching Yuko Sen how to cook, was surprised to notice that she couldn't even peel eggshells, so she should learn how to do it properly. She diligently explained to her how to properly divide the egg mixture into 3 parts and explained that the copper from which the frying pan is made is an excellent material for transferring thermal energy and therefore is well suited for making an omelet. And next time, Tina promised the girl to teach her how to make dashi fish broth with seaweed. Tina asked Yuko to pay attention to their supply of eggs, and she wanted to show the omelet she made to the owner and asked Harble if he was still sleeping. Tina replied that he should have finished his run by now and was probably practicing magic in the back garden, which was his daily activity, and he had been working out hard every day since he was 5 years old. Horrible recalled how Haruto had asked her to teach her how to mix 2 different types of magic, and she had informed him that it was now difficult for her to remake defensive magic every night, because the manor had to be protected by a strong barrier. Yuyuko decided that their master was quite a hardworking person, and Tina stated that she liked Haruto-sama for that very reason, after which Yuyuko felt that she liked this guy even more now. At this time, Haruto entered the room and Yuyuko immediately offered him a dish that she had prepared herself and that Tina had taught her, to which the maid explained that she couldn't let her stay the night for free. The young man tasted it, and the omelet tasted delicious, and Yuko promised to share her food with him from now on, and thus the Kijo Haruto family gained another family member. A few days later, Tina Horrible announced that it was decided that the class battle would take place in 3 days, and that their opponent would be 7th-year students. The students expressed doubts that they would be able to fight on equal terms with the seniors, but the teacher reassured them and explained that everything would be fine, even if they were 7th-year students. This was a one-on-one knockout tournament with 5 people on each side, and their strength would probably not be lagging behind in individual matches because they're stronger. Tina then ordered both classes to form up in order to select the 5 members responsible for this battle. The high school class was made up of those guys who picked a fight with Luna-chan on the day of the opening ceremony, and they clearly looked down on the freshmen and accused Count Haruto's son of using his parents' connections, and suggested that he give up before he felt any pain. Haruto felt that the magic power of these guys was limitless, and the grandson of Director Ruck told him that he felt the same way. But he wouldn't forgive the guys who behaved so abominably. He saw that Luna-san's face was pale and asked what happened to her, and the girl replied that their opponents were the same guys who insulted her on the day of the academy's opening ceremony. Then Haruto-san and Ruck-san came and saved her. The headmaster's grandson suggested that the girl go to the infirmary, but Luna refused and said that she would stay here to cheer up the others. One of the high school students turned to Yuko and said that he would make her scream with a special technique, and just at that time, the command was given to the vanguards from both classes to go up on stage. The 7th-year student mockingly told Luna that she seemed very interested in the restaurant they went to a few days ago, and they were going to celebrate their victory there after this match. But then the command to start the competition sounded, and he fell silent. Raishin noted that now they will have more viewers, because the clash of seniors against juniors will be quite an exciting match, and Melody expressed a little concern about the fact that their opponents were still high school students. But since they have Tina-sensei's gargoyle as a sparring opponent, she sees no reason why they would lose. However, Haruto urged everyone not to be careless because their opponents are still 7th-year students and they might use some unusual magic or something like that. Lifa agreed with him and said that she needed to proceed carefully. But first, she would defeat one of them and Haruto asked her to do everything possible, after which the girl went up against her first opponent. This high school student suggested that the girl attack first, but warned that it was all useless, and Lifa laughed and replied that he refused the first move only because he looked down on her. After that, the wind began to gather around Lifa, and it was a very large amount of mana. Yuko and Mai were in the spectator area. But the accumulated magic power of Lifa was a huge danger. Lifa's magic wind was incredibly strong, and Haruto barely managed to pick up Mai, who was in danger. The young man noticed the incredible lightness of this girl. She was like a feather and loyally looked into Haruto's eyes. Suddenly, Mai pulled her sister away from the boy and gave him a stern look. Haruto told Mai that she had misunderstood him, and Mai explained to her sister that Haruto-san came and saved her when it looked like she was about to fall, to which Mai thanked Haruto for saving Mai, but asked him not to get too close to her. Lifa's opponent couldn't figure out where this girl's mana came from, and she was doing her best to defeat the high school student. Lifa's strength was amazing, even though she was a freshman, and the explosive arrow had an incredible effect. Lifa's opponent was unable to resist this incredible magic power. One of the judges said in desperation that her magic was shattered and the barrier she had built was destroyed. Lifa was simply amazing and the audience shouted about it from their seats, and the confused girl turned to Tina-sensei and asked what should she do now. Tina stated that it was total annihilation, and even when everyone was fighting the gargoyle, she tried her best to hold the barrier. So she didn't expect that the magic wall set up by the teachers would be able to stop her students' magic. But the other male judge stated that he wouldn't accept this attack that came out outside the arena. This is a violation of the rules, but it was explained to him that only magic coming from outside violates the established order, but not vice versa. And since no one expected that the teacher's barrier would somehow be broken by the student's magic, then this is a victory for the freshmen. Tina turned to the referee and reminded that the 4 people who collapsed outside were just applauding, and they were not participants in the competition. After which the teacher of high school students called Edgar from the podium, and he complained that he should not have taken part in this. The match began to return to normal after some delay, and the high school teacher explained to Edgar that the golden-haired girl from the junior vanguard had gone so far as to destroy 4 people, and so they asked that the match continue with a substitute player. So he asked him to perform in the arena, and the young man replied that he was very sleepy. Meanwhile, Tina praised Lifa for her good work and excellent spell and suggested that she rest, leaving everything to Ryashin, after which the girl approached the guy and assured him that he could win, and even if he died, she would bring him back to life. Tina knew that Edgar-san was the perfect opponent for Ryashin-san, who was very good at hand-to-hand combat, and his sudden appearance wasn't part of her plans, but he should end up as bright as Lifa. Edgar realized that Ryashin was a draconian and quite strong, but suddenly a guy came up to him and attacked him with complaints that he hadn't completed all the work that had a deadline this month. It was the student council secretary, and Edgar said that everything was going to be fine and he could handle everything, and besides, he wouldn't lose to anyone, including this guy standing in front of him. At this time, the command to start the second round sounded, and Ryashin stated that he wanted to show his good sides to his entire class, after which he began to turn into a dragon. He was determined to quickly defeat Edgar and use Dragon Claw magic, but his attack crashed against a serious barrier. Ryashin managed to notice the excellent speed and power of his opponent, who told him that he was full of holes after using this skill of his. After these words, an irresistible counterattack followed, and Edgar declared, standing over Ryashin, who was sprawled on the ground, that the Dragonoids were a strong race, and it was good that he did not hold back this time, after which he was declared the winner. Lifa turned to Ryashin's sister Ruika and asked them to take them to the medical office to use recovery magic, because the fighter was careless. But Haruto stated that Ryashin wasn't careless, just that the person he was fighting was stronger than him. Tina confirmed Haruto's words and added that Edgar-kun is an outstanding kid even in this school. He is an officer in the school board. And Haruto turned to Melody and asked her if she could fight him, to which the girl replied that she noticed his fleeting glimpse of speed, but the bait magic is a concern. Tina looked at the girl and said firmly that now it was her turn, and if Melody's speed depended on the moon, Edgar wouldn't have time to set up his bait. There was a question about whether support magic could pass through the barrier, and whether it was legal to use support magic despite it being an official match. But Tina explained that since it was a class match, it wouldn't be fair to allow only fighters to participate, and of course if students are from the same class, then they are allowed to use magic support services. Luna assured everyone that everything would be fine if she supported Melody to the fullest, and her support is really strong. Edgar said that a Dragonoid, a young female beast, and a rare talisman magic user all annoyed him, because he just wanted to go home and sleep. He didn't understand why young Master Nato was so obsessed with this class, and Melody told the guy that she intended to get revenge for Ryashin. Then Edgar noticed the magic of support that was coming from the stands, and the judges pointed out this dirty trick of the high school teacher. The most frustrating thing was that Edgar was being helped by a teacher, and teachers are not allowed to participate in class competitions, even if it is through support magic. Luna's support is really amazing, and Melody could feel the power surging out of her body, and her speed was getting faster, and she had to live up to expectations, and she started with an explosion. Then came the penetrating fist, a very serious weapon that Melody possessed. Edgar put up a defense, but still lost his balance and flew back a few meters. It was a dangerous strike from the girl, but she realized that this guy didn't just have bait magic. He could dodge it easily by reading the moves. And since she was currently being supported, using her left hand as well would help catch Edgar off guard. Summoning all the energy in her fists, Melody launched an attack, causing the barrier to shatter once again, and magic burst out of the area. Melody told her opponent that he was just avoiding her, and Edgar replied that he had also received support magic and was now much faster. He suggested that the girl try hitting him at least once more. She didn't make him repeat the invitation and attacked Edgar with the flying legs skill. This time, the impact was even stronger than before, and it was also painful, to which Edgar said that Melody's legs were quite strong. After that, Edgar held up his hands and said that he was giving up and admitting defeat because he had already exhausted his mana and stamina, plus he was exhausted and couldn't do anything else. Melody asked him in confusion if he would give up this match, and he informed her that since he would not be able to forgive himself if he won by cheating, he would stop the match. It seemed that there were no more students capable of fighting and the match was over. Tina's class won, and Melody asked Edgar again why he gave up. And Edgar said that even though he didn't keep her company until the very end, he was having quite a lot of fun with her. Tina approached her guys and expressed her regret that they could not show off in the arena, but they replied that victory was the most important thing, and it was unlikely that they could beat this person if it came to them. At this time, a frustrated teacher ran up to Edgar and asked what the hell he was doing. Obviously, he was going to kill him, and therefore should prepare for the fact that he would be severely punished. But then his fiery speech was interrupted by a voice that asked what he was going to do with their accountant. The man with the long white hair said that his secretary wrote down something interesting, and then showed the teacher a perfect picture of his shameless actions during the match. He asked, at this point, if he was going to claim that they lost this match because of Edgar, or if he wanted to make his social situation worse. Lifa suddenly stated that she had seen this bright-haired senior somewhere before, and Tina explained that she might have seen him during the opening ceremony speech because he is the student council president and his name is Rain Kun. He is the strongest student in this school, both in words and in practice. Haruto asked Tina if they had a match with a class headed by the student council president, they could win as freshmen, and the teacher replied that they would definitely win, and they would win all the time. Tina asked the young man to leave everything to her, and she would think about more difficult exercises, but now the match was over and something was bothering Ruku. Melody was depressed, and she was sitting in the classroom, thinking indifferently that she had been accepted to the Magic Academy back in January, and she had spent a whole month destroying the training fields and fighting with the seniors, when her thoughts were interrupted by Luna, who came into the classroom and said that she had made this treat for everyone in the school. In the classroom, the girl took a box of chocolates out of her bag and said it was a Valentine's Day treat, which made Melody jump in her seat, realizing that she had forgotten about this eternal spring festival, a special day when young women give chocolate to their friends and lovers. Heroes who have been summoned from another world have transmitted bits of phenomena from it and greatly enriched the lives of the inhabitants of this world. And if similar ingredients are available, then food cultures can also be replicated, and food-related events can also take root as part of this world, and Valentine's Day is one of them. After that, Melody stormed out of the classroom, surprising Haruto as he entered. The young man greeted Luna, and she handed him chocolate with gratitude for the time when he saved her during the ceremony. The girl explained that she gave him a little more sweets than everyone else and asked to keep it a secret from everyone. Luna also gave chocolate to Mai-san and Mei-san, who were happy but didn't understand why they were getting it, and Haruto was surprised that they didn't know anything about Valentine's Day. He somehow thought that these two girls aren't human at all because they have bodies that glow. Haruto also wanted to know why Mei dislikes him so much. Just then, Tina entered the room with a large box in her hands that contained a gorgeous and stunning cake. Melody returned immediately with 2 trays of hot chocolate and drinks. A gold coin was found in the cake during the feast, and it was given to Lifa-san, who said that she would keep it for the rest of her life. So there was an incredibly kind atmosphere in the classroom. Haruto thought with pleasure that the previously summoned heroes were able to make Valentine's Day a holiday for this world, as this is an occasion to put various desires into chocolate and deliver it to friends and family. It's very Japanese that chocolate is given by girls. Then, for some reason, the young man thought that there is not much of it saddened me. After all, he didn't get anything personally. He didn't get any chocolate from Tina, although until last year, he usually got something from her in the morning. But Haruto reassured himself that Tina is a teacher, and so of course she will be with the cake in front of everyone in class, and they are in the same room. At the point of their relationship, when they'd already kissed, so he had to believe her. And besides, she'd probably made something at home. However, nothing much happened at home, and it was time to go to bed. But at this time, the door to the young man's bedroom opened and Tina asked him for a moment to show some secret technique that she had prepared. She claimed that in the world of heroes, chocolate was placed on the body in order to give it to her lover. And Haruto saw chocolate on Tina's prominent chest and thought with disbelief, did heroes really teach this 100 years ago? Tina said that she was a little embarrassed, but it was their first Valentine's Day since they became lovers, and she was curious about Haruto's opinion. Did she do it well? The young man sincerely replied that it was all very good, and Tina was happy with the praise and offered Haruto-sama, without hesitation, to help herself. She moved closer to him and held out her breasts, which smelled like delicious chocolate. It was at this time that Yuyuko entered the room with chocolate dumplings in her hands that she had made herself and asked Haruto-sama in surprise if he was okay. Then she saw the owner's chocolate-smeared face and Tina's carefully licked chest and declared that they were two perverts, to which Haruto said that the chocolates he received this year were very tasty. In the dorm room of the Magic and Boxing Academy students, two girls were playing the board game Reversi, and Melody was surprised to see that there were only white chips on the board. Even though she and Luna were only in the middle of the game, the girl couldn't believe that such a thing was possible. Luna replied that this was very rare and that it was because she was just good at Reversi, which Yolodi asked Luna not to fall for anyway, and they started the next game. Since Melody was in a low mood, Luna invited her to a sleepover, and she asked her not to give in to her game, so she played it seriously. But apparently she shouldn't have listened to the girl, and now she was grateful to Haruto for somehow managing to smooth things over. Haruto knew that Luna was not only strong at board games, but she was basically smart and had a broad knowledge of magic, easily answering difficult questions in class. But Ryushin and Melody were not easy to learn in class, and they were no match in combat. At the same time, a meeting was held in the student council room, where it was noted that this year's first-year students are very strange guys. This is the headmaster's grandson, who, despite his age, already knows how to use high magic. A spellcaster is a regular at the library, an elf who once defeated the 5 strongest students of the academy. And as for the one who fought Edgar, she has all kinds of battle magic. Rain went on to say that the Dragonite girl has a high healing skill, and there aren't many Dragonites, but there are 2 of them at once, and although they don't have enough information about the remaining 4 students yet, he's already impressed that this class has some of the most unusual first-year students, and the class leader in charge of them is Tina Harable, about whom legends are made up, and therefore it becomes more and more interesting. The student council chairman turned to Secretary Koni and asked him to continue collecting information, while Yuko informed Haruto that she was now a true magician and a loyal servant of the master. As proof, she offered to look at her status, where it was confirmed that she was indeed a mage and her status was changed to a servant, and she also had a 99th level with a brainwashing skill, with which she could control those who were lower in level than her. Rook noticed that brainwashing wouldn't work on him because he was level 120. Ryushin was also out of the danger zone with level 105, and Lifa with her 80th level could be influenced by Yuyuko, and Haruto thanked God that he had managed to make a contract with the fox before it did anything wrong. Something to do. Melody sadly reported that she was only level 62, while Mei and Mai were level 60, and Haruto, who was level 1, didn't like these conversations at all. Luna said that the healing skill is hard to raise, but the spell skill above level 50 is also not easy to raise. Then everyone thanked her for constantly helping them out, and the girl sincerely expressed her gratitude to her friends. Melody thanked the young man for the fact that thanks to his contract with Yuko, she can now learn without being afraid of falling under her skill. And Haruto realized that now he should show his level to everyone. He turned to his friends and stated that everyone openly showed their statuses and only he was left, so he could not hide his level from everyone. He thought that while only Tina knew about his curse, and apparently, it was time to finally tell everyone about it. I decided to apologize for sure to Tina and for not having experienced my curse with the guys for so long, and I turned to them to inform them about my small level. However, His friends told him that he might not show them his level. Rook, the headmaster's grandson, said that when he entered the academy, he thought that only his grandfather was stronger than him. But it turns out that he was wrong, and even Tina is stronger than his grandfather, and Haruto was just raised by her, and if he sees his level now, he will not be able to restore his self-esteem. Yuyuka also refused to look at his level, fearing that he would have a level even higher than Tina, who is revered by everyone, and Haruto decided that now he himself would not be able to show what he wanted. Besides, all his friends refused to know his level. The first-year students were finally allowed to practice at one of the academy's training grounds called Steel Forest, where the fifth-year students usually trained. They were going to fight monsters that were very numerous here, and someone suggested that there should be a competition for the number of beasts killed. Lifa suggested that we pair up, and everyone found the idea great, immediately discussing the idea and choosing a match. Mai and Mei decided that they would be together as always, and Yuko wanted to pair up with the owner, and Tina was happy that they were all already gathered and now ready to start training in the Steel Forest. The teacher expressed the hope that the training session would go smoothly, but pointed out that they should be careful and in case of danger should blow the whistle, which she will give them along with the bracelets. Tina explained that these are bracelets that will record the number of monsters killed by students and their rank, because they wanted to compete, who will kill how many monsters, and the guys realized that the teacher heard their conversations. Haruto asked Tina if she really wanted to have a competition from the very beginning, and she said that she was very surprised when they themselves came up with this idea. Then she said that in this training ground, students will not be able to improve their level by killing monsters, but they will develop a spirit of competition and mutual assistance, which is also very important. Tina announced that they had until noon and the monster training session in the forest was starting. Yuyuko noticed that they were quite deep in the forest, and asked the owner how they would kill monsters, to which Haruto asked the girl. Her brainwashing skill works on monsters, and she replied that if they have at least a drop of intelligence, then yes. And then the young man suggested to try to find them quickly monsters. Haruto stated that this time it was his turn to act, and Yuyuko was surprised to see beautiful lights flashing between the master's palms. Haruto explained to the girl that he would shape this fire and add some more properties, and then Yuyuko saw that the fire began to take the shape of a horse. A second later, the girl saw the armor created with the help of lightning magic and a spear in the hands of a fire knight on a horse. Haruto happily exclaimed that he created a fire spearman, and Yuko replied that it wasn't a spearman at all, but a fire knight, a magic of the highest order. Meanwhile, Haruto created a few more knights and encouraged them to start killing monsters, and Yuyuko worriedly asked her master if he was okay after using such strong magic. If he wanted to try some of her magic, Yuyuko heard Tina's voice from her personal bracelet, reminding her that she was in class. For safety reasons, she can monitor their movements with the bracelets on their hands, and for flirting during classes, she will immediately leave the game and receive a negative rating, which angered Yuko wanted to remove the bracelet and throw it away. However, the teacher warned that if she removed the bracelet, she would be able to immediately leave classes, and those who were absent would be left without dinner. And this argument stopped the girl from trying to get rid of the bracelet. Runa, who was Rook's date, said that Haruto was really nice to them, and would probably even accept chocolate from them on Valentine's Day, to which Rook said that she obviously had feelings for Haruto, but he didn't notice. She was probably upset that she couldn't be paired up with Haruto, but the girl replied that she was glad that Rook offered to work together today. And she also knew from Haruto that he also helped her during the admission ceremony, and so she also made chocolate for him on Valentine's Day. Suddenly, Luna looked behind the young man and reported that there was a wolf standing there, but Rook calmly said that monsters in the Steel Forest usually do not attack, and since they do not get experience for him, there is no point in killing him, because the wolf is not even real and was created as a stuffed animal for training. Luna still noticed that this wolf was strange and applied acceleration to see the wolf's every move. Rook realized that this monster was hard to get and unlikely to be a stuffed animal for training, so he asked Luna to help him with magic. After a while, they still managed to finish off the wolf. But from the thick of the forest came a herd of mehans, monsters of a higher level, which were not easy to kill, and it was believed that there were very few of them left in the forest. And since they spent some of their energy on the wolf that attacked them, The question arose what they should do now. At this time, Melody and Lifa were fighting monsters in another place, and there were quite a lot of them. Ryushin and Ruiko were clearing the steel forest of all kinds of monsters, from monkeys to representatives of the water world. Ryushin happily exclaimed that they did well, and if you fry these monsters, it will be very tasty food, and Ruika thought that he was talking nonsense. My sister told my brother that the monsters were attacking them, and there wasn't even time to catch his breath in this class, and he should try to master the lectures in class just as well. Mai and Mei watched from the side, and Mei asked her sister if she didn't feel anything. It looks like there is an Ifrit nearby, but this creature's aura is even stronger than his. Tina noticed the strange movement of the monsters and decided that someone was influencing them. Mai and Mei, meanwhile, heard the loud howls of the wolf pack and became more aware of the presence of an unknown creature in the forest. In the center of the magic circle in the clearing of the steel forest, the servant of the evil god appeared and exclaimed that she could sense the magic of the person she was looking for, and he was definitely somewhere in this forest. The servant of the evil god felt that there were several people in the steel forest who seemed to be strong, but he couldn't get stronger, and she would like to ask the evil god what kind of curse he cast. It was easy to find a replacement for her, and she couldn't become useless. She was already spending too much energy on reincarnation, and but with a small amount of energy, because she doesn't want to die. The evil god said that he should live as long as possible and asked the servant to take the Book of God's formula from the bottom shelf. And she began to follow orders, because what she wanted was to be useful to him, and therefore she had to try to be better. The conditions were terrible for her. She had to remain weak, not change her status, and not die. And it would take time for her to find out for herself. The evil god seemed amazing to her, and he could create great curses. But then her thoughts were interrupted, and the god scolded her for not understanding the difference between the book's formulation of God and formula of God. This book is a detailed instruction on all the subtleties of curses, and it is on the bottom shelf. And the servant, continuing to search for the book, asked, because the hero will always remain on the first level, but she is for putting another curse on the reincarnation of the beast, and it seems that it would be a better sight if they used a different kind magic. When God cast the first curse, he was rather careless, because the hero still found a loophole for development and can now cast a Fire Knight. The curse that he received from the evil god weakens along with the god himself. But now there was still a chance to strengthen the curse of a fixed status. Now the evil god has fallen asleep for a long time to restore his power. After all, he paid a high price for that ritual, and she now uses distance magic to follow the hero. But for some reason she can't find him. And it occurred to her that perhaps the next generation of heroes has not yet been confirmed, but he's definitely alive. The attendant couldn't believe that she wouldn't be able to track the hero. She looked at the magic ball and saw that it was starting to react. Tina unexpectedly made an announcement to the students through the magic link and said that there was a problem, and she asks everyone to return to the starting point. Now the forest monsters are a danger to them, and they must use serious magic against them. Tina noticed the servant of the evil god and called out to her. Tina decided that it was because of her that the monsters were so enraged. This girl was an outsider, and as a person with the blood of a hero in her veins, she felt the energy of the evil god and realized that she needed to defeat this servant. Tina immediately attacked the stranger and asked if she was the one controlling the monsters. The teacher used serious magic and informed the servant that she would be destroyed. However, to Tina's surprise, the spell did not work, and the stranger was offended that this elf immediately attacked her. Tina wasn't going to give up and used Thor's hammer magic. Tina decided that the servant of the evil god was weak, because it looked like the evil god was sleeping now. What she didn't know, however, was that she had no chance against this girl, even while the god was asleep. Her magic was incredible. She turned to Tina and said that she was serving an evil god, and she already understood this. So why does she think that it will be so easy for her? She shouldn't underestimate her. She, the servant girl, is the type of person who doesn't look strong at first glance. A strange smile appeared on the evil god servant's face, and she exclaimed for the demonic monster to protect her. The heavens opened up, and Tina felt the huge palm of an unknown monster on her face. This beast was really scary and very strong. All the students saw it and feared for Tina Sensei's life. Haruto sensed and realized that something bad was happening to Tina and rushed to help. At this time, Ryushin grabbed the demon's arm and told him to let go of Tina-sensei. Ryushin was engaged in a confrontation with a demon, and he couldn't understand what was going on with this beast. Is the appearance so deceiving? The young man tried to fight off the demon's sensei by kicking it several times and snatching Tina out of the monster's hands. Lifa ordered him to cast a spell and jump down, while Melody ordered him to catch Tina-sensei. The command came just in time, because Tina landed right in Melody's arms. Luna immediately rushed to heal the teacher because she was losing her strength, and it looked like she had received a serious injury. Luna warned Ryushin that the demon was using poison and needed to be extra careful, which was probably why Tina-sensei fainted. Luna used several skills at once: breathing, unusual defense, increasing power and speed, multi-defense. Ryushin understood that he needed to refrain from close combat with the monster, but at the same time deal even more crushing blows to it, and if he succeeded, then he would be able to cope with the test in this way. Luna told him that when Ryushin fell to the ground during the competition, Haruto said that he wasn't weak, but that the opponent was stronger than him and the difference was in strength. Luna had never thought that dragonoids would be concerned about humans, and she approved of Ryushin's actions, who was determined that even if the opponent was stronger than him, he could deal with him with the dragon's claw. Haruto also understood the power of dragonoids, but however, his opponent was very strong. Ryushin thanked Luna for helping him with mana because he had already used up one dragon's magic power, and then he ordered her to take Tina-sensei and get out of here, while Haruto warned Ryushin about the danger behind him. The students managed to quickly evacuate Tina. Everyone saw the unknown warrior's willingness to continue fighting, and he was undoubtedly a demon. Ruika cast a chain of lightning bolts and urged Ryushin to return quickly. Ryushin said that dragonoids become incredibly strong in the form of a dragon, and who, if not him, should deal with this demon. And Yuko, noticing that the demon's magic power increased, told Ryushin to leave. The twins, who were watching the fight from the top of the mountain, said that there was nothing to worry about if they didn't help them, and if Haruto couldn't handle the demon, then there was nothing for them to do there. Mai sadly stated that it would make no sense for them to enter into a contract with him then. Mai and Mei continued to watch the battle below, and ever since the destruction of the training ground, Haruto-sama was very cool. Mai was wondering if he would be willing to make a contract with her, because she was fascinated by his mana and only addressed him as Haruto-sama, and Mei was too harsh towards him. And even Yuko voluntarily made a contract with him, and it is no small value that he is accompanied by a nine-tailed fox, even if it is a small one. Mai added that Haruto is able to create very powerful flames, and if she makes a contract with him, she will definitely be able to become amazing as well. Mei replied that she was only saying this because she had never had a contract with a human before, and Mai apologized and said that she didn't say anything about her forcibly entering into a contract with Haruto-sama, and she also said that she just wanted to choose the moment carefully. Mai expressed her wish that Mei would find a water mage to contact her, and Mei thought that Mai had always clung to her, and despite her saying that it would be great if their contractor was the same person, she was still a little sad. But as an older sister, she was a little sad. I would be glad if Mei became more independent. Mai hesitantly said that if their friends were in danger, they should help, and the nurse agreed with her words and said that then they should come closer. Suddenly, Mai sensed that something very powerful was approaching them, and although Mai wasn't as well versed in fire as Mai, she sensed a terrifying aura approaching them. It was a fire spearman, and it gave off a clear flame that seemed beautiful to the girls. The spearman was heading towards the battle, and the girls realized that it was a magical warrior, and they had heard of such magic before. Mei and Mai followed. Mai exclaimed that it was Haruto-sama's magic, and she would definitely offer him a contract now. Mei thought that if Haruto was also a water mage, then she would be able to always be together with Mai, or so she thought, even though it was impossible. Alas, she was the one who couldn't let go of her sister. Meanwhile, the deadly battle with the demon continued, and Ryushin noticed that the dragon's skin on his arm was scratched. This monster was moving too fast for a human's senses. Luna warned Ryushin of the danger yet again, and he managed to dodge the demon's next strike. Haruto noticed that his attacks also contained poison, so he summoned a light whip. Luna asked Haruto to hurry up and do something about this demon, because everyone here knows that they will die if this continues. Rook asked the young man that if he had the power, he should use it. The demon continued its poisoned attacks, and Mai informed her sister that she had lost sight of the flaming horse, but Mi replied that they would deal with that later. Haruto saw that his flaming spearman had come to the battlefield. The magic warrior unleashed its power on the demon, and Luna knew that the fire spearman was on their side. The flame spear pierced through the demon's body, and Haruto thought that it was obvious that the core was destroyed. Of course, it was necessary to destroy its core by any means, and Yuyuko told the owner that if he used all his magic power, then it could be done. But it seems that this guy has grown an arm. Melody, meanwhile, supported Tina-sensei, who was gradually regaining her strength, and Yuko reported that she had managed to save up 2 of her tails of energy. And this is all for her master. She is ready to release a huge amount of mana, and everything will go into this barrier that she just created, and the rest will be left to Haruto. She told the host that there was no need for him to hold back now, and Tina asked him for a favor. She said that their opponent was a demon, and he wouldn't be able to kill him with normal magic. A demon is a creature that can destroy a small country and has very fast regeneration, and the only way to kill it is to use a large amount of heat energy, destroying its core. Therefore, he must use all his strength and protect everyone. She also reminded him of the 30%, and the young man swore that he would not make any more mistakes. He assured Tina that he would meet her expectations, and that this time, his fire spear would reach its target. The servant of the evil god returned to the remote sanctuary where the god was slumbering. She was back, but there was no one to tell her about it, and cleaning up this sanctuary, repairing damaged areas, calculating negative energy costs, and considering the next demon lord's drift, all of that she needed to do. The acolyte handled all of this on her own, and the evil god really impressed her, because just by doing nothing but sleep, he was getting energy freely. The maidservant thought with annoyance that she was so happy to go outside after a long time that she even went so far as to inadvertently use a demon. Haruto was glad that his choice was not wrong, and he destroyed the demon and protected the people dear to him. He had made it clear to this monster that it couldn't consider itself strong. But even though the demon was destroyed by him, the forest caught fire as a result of the battle, and the barrier Yuyuko created couldn't last long, so they had to put out the fire. Haruto started to put out the fire, and Yuko asked if he was okay after using such a strong magic, to which the young man replied that it was actually just a combination of lesser magic, and now because of the evil god's curse, he can't use magic worth more than 10 mana. So because of these limitations, he will release clusters of 10 mana points, and then change the clusters and symbols, then arrange them in a sort of spell circle, and continue like this, completing the spell circle by about 1,000 characters. Lifa suggested that it was a high-level magic, but Haruto didn't agree with her and stated that it was all beginner-level magic, and as someone who had no more than 10 mana points, he couldn't do anything other than that, and he could also call out the one who was able to extinguish this fire. He used spirit summoning magic and summoned Yudina, which surprised Mai and Mei greatly. The goddess recognized Haruto and said that it had been 3 years since they had seen each other, because he had not called her recently and she was very lonely, after which the young man asked for forgiveness and agreed that it was his fault. Then Yudina recognized Mai and Mei and asked if they were all right, especially if Mai had found a candidate for the contract, to which she said no. Mai guessed that Yudina had made a contract with Haruto, and the young man asked them to talk about it later, because now they have to get rid of the fire, and Yudina, the water spirit monarch, asked Mei, who also specialized in water magic, to help them. Haruto asked Lifa to use what she had used during the class competition. While she and Yudina were throwing water into the sky, she should use her magic to spread it everywhere, and Yuyuko warned in desperation that it was getting harder for her to hold the barrier. The young man called Yudina to use a water spear. The water formed in the sky by Yudina's magic. Lifa in turn distributed over a large area through the magic of explosive wind. However, the fire was getting stronger, and making this rain was completely pointless. So Lifa turned to Mei and Mai and asked them for help, after which Mei asked her sister to give her mana. Both sisters used a rare magic called the Ballad of Ice. They sent some ice into the sky, and a lot of ice mass gradually accumulated there. Mei turned to Haruto and asked him to use fire to heat up the clouds, since Mai had already exhausted her mana, and although the youth and Yudme continued to shoot water, he understood what Mei wanted to do. He asked the Ifrit to help him with this. The twins were surprised that Haruto seemed to have signed a contract with Ifrit as well, and they had once felt his aura. Mei reached out to her sister and stated that she now fully understands her feelings about wanting to sign a contract with Haruto-sama, even if it means breaking up with her. Mai, surprised that Mei called Haruto very politely, felt very good even though she hated being wet. Going back to her true self while everyone is here is a bit awkward, but she still has to be patient, and she definitely won't let Haruto-sama do that. Student Council President Rain was incredulous to hear from Koni that there was a demon in the forest, and the fact that the academy couldn't detect it entering one of their outer rooms would be a real problem. Because of this, classes will be cancelled today, and the class that used the Hagen Forest during the demon attack belongs to Tina. This is a first-year class. Rain asked if any of the students or teachers were injured, and the secretary said that all the damage was repaired on the spot. No one was injured. Then the student council president asked who killed the demon, and Connie said that the last blow to the beast was not Tina. The one who killed the demon was Haruto Silvereye, the guy who, even though he had just entered the academy, tore a big hole in the school premises and then made his parents pay for the repairs. Now he was summoned to the director's office to clarify all the circumstances. The headmaster of the academy informed Haruto that his grandson Rook often talks about him, because there was always a huge difference in ability between him and his peers. He never tried to develop the talent with which he was born. But recently, Haruto's existence has become a great incentive for him, which prompted him to practice magic. The headmaster shook the young man's hand and thanked him for being friends with his grandson. Then he noticed that Haruto has a very large amount of mana, or rather, is it an approximate amount of mana for the first level? Haruto realized with annoyance that his amount of mana had been noticed by the headmaster of the Magic Academy, and just then Tina came into the office and reproached the headmaster for speaking so arrogantly to a student. And to his surprise, the headmaster brought his changes, and then Haruto stated that he intended to do something for them say it. But he warned that it should remain a secret, to which the headmaster replied that he didn't need to force himself to reveal his secret, because this school recognizes the diversity of its students, but if he wants to tell him, then he promises not to tell anyone about it. And Haruto added that he would like to, and Tina-sensei heard it. The young man revealed his status, and Tina exclaimed in surprise when she saw that Haruto actually possessed the first level. She guessed why he always used nothing but low-level magic, and the headmaster claimed that it was a status curse that he was seeing for the first time. Haruto confirmed the headmaster's guess and stated that the reason why he has the first level is due to this particular curse, and at the moment of reincarnation, he was cursed by an evil god and became like this. The evil god is responsible for the rebirth of the Demon King, as well as the spread of fear and despair, which means that he really exists, after which Haruto apologized to Tina for not telling her about it earlier, and the director asked why the evil god would send such a curse on Haruto, to which the young man replied that God did this so that he would not play an active role in this world. The headmaster suggested that killing a demon was quite prominent, and Haruto said that he believed that the evil god had made a mistake and that he could prove it by showing them his status and mana amount. Haruto showed Tina and the academy headmaster a magic fire spear, after which they were surprised to see that his mana status hadn't decreased, and the youth said that no matter how much magic he used, his mana would never decrease. At first, he thought that the curse was limiting the maximum value of his status, but now he believes that God made a mistake when casting the curse, and the director asked with interest, but how did he get such damage that he can even kill a demon? Haruto explained that he uses a large amount of low-level magic that requires less than 10 mana, after which he combines them to increase his power by using fire and dark magic at the same time. The headmaster asked if this was possible with magic without spells, and the young man replied that he had collected 50,000 fire spears when he destroyed the training arena, after which the headmaster looked at Tina with respect and thanked her for the time when she was able to repel such powerful magic. But the girl modestly replied that there was a stone who took the hit instead of her. The headmaster of the academy turned his gaze to Haruto and stated that if it was true that he was from another world, then his strength was not a mystery, and he was well aware that he was abnormal, but now he had to observe moderation, and Haruto agreed with him. Haruto waited for Tina at the exit until she finished talking to the headmaster, and she informed him that it looked like the headmaster would support him as much as possible. But the young man replied that it was more to keep the school safe than to help him. Tina reached out to Haruto and offered her apologies, stating that even though she was always there for him, she failed to notice his curse, and when she thinks about how much he was hurt, she feels despair because of her powerlessness. The young man calmed the girl down and said that it didn't hurt him, because he had such a wonderful teacher like her, and if it wasn't for Tina, he wouldn't have been able to learn how to combine magic so quickly. He asked her to continue teaching him, and the students watching the scene agreed that the two of them got along quite well. The student council director thoughtfully said that this character Tina really looks just like an ordinary girl in love when she stands in front of Haruto. The next day, Haruto was approached by Mai and Mei, asking for a moment of attention. They suggested that the young man go somewhere in a deserted place, because there it would be easier to explain everything to him. When they went to a deserted place, suddenly the girls began to undress and Haruto couldn't understand what the two of them were doing. Meanwhile, the twins appeared before him completely naked. To the astonished Haruto, they confessed that this was their true form, and he realized that they were spirits. When he looked at those half-naked bodies, he felt a kind of guilty pleasure. The young man realized that they were both close to Yudina, because she was also a spirit, and the girls meanwhile offered Haruto-sama to sign a contract with them. They explained that they both fell in love with his mana, and Haruto was relieved because he already had Tina, and his goal in this world was to become as strong as the hero so that he could protect her. So he would be happy to be able to make a contract with the spirits. These two were able to appear in the human world without a contract and were even able to transform into humans, and definitely, they are not weak and he has no reason to refuse them. So Haruto agreed to Mai and Mei's suggestion. Immediately for this decision, he received a double kiss from the twins. After that, they returned to the spirit world, and when spirits make a contract in the human world, they always temporarily return to the spirit world, and then they can materialize in the human world, being summoned by a contract person, and now Haruto can enjoy his school life with these two. But do I need to create a summoning circle large enough to make it possible to he had been using it for a long time? And he decided to put in as much magic as he could. Haruto would like to summon them together if possible, and he prepared a magic fire spear. The summoning magic worked, but instead of the two twins, a huge man appeared in front of Haruto. He introduced himself and said that he was the Star Spirit King. Haruto, in turn, gave his name and thought that it was obvious that if he summoned Mai and Mei at the same time, they would merge together. The Star Spirit King turned to the young man and said that he was glad to see him for the first time on this earth. And Haruto replied that he had met a spirit for the first time in his life. Then the king excused himself and said that he was busy at the moment and asked for permission to go back to his own world because it was currently under Haruto's control, and he couldn't believe that there was a person who had such devilish powers that he could forcibly summon him. And Haruto thought that it looked like he was going to be able to. He made a magic circle that was too big. Now that the Star Spirit King wanted to return home to his dear daughters, Haruto didn't mind and showed pleasure at being able to meet the Star Spirit King. Suddenly, Haruto remembered something that happened a few years ago. It was then that he first tried the summoning magic that Tina had taught him, and he made a contract with Ifrit, the king of the fire spirits. Tina was then very surprised that this happened at the first call. It seemed simply incredible. Tina sincerely congratulated Mr. Haruto on his first contract, and the moment he signed the contract with Yudina, Tina's smile seemed heavy to him. Perhaps Tina had already taken a liking to him since then, and in the meantime, the Star Spirit King said goodbye to Haruto and disappeared. This time, he decided to try summoning Mai and Mei separately and make a smaller magic circle and visualize Mai's appearance in his head. And this time, the summoning magic worked. Mai appeared in front of him. But just as Mai made a move towards Haruto, the Star Spirit King appeared from the magic circle and sternly asked, "Who is it that wants to make a contract with the fire spirit Mai?" Before doing this, let him show him his strength. Mai said that it was obvious that he was following her, and Haruto realized that he needed to show that he was stronger than this guy and told the Spirit King to bow to him. The king asked in surprise why he was suddenly ordering him to kneel in front of his daughter, Wasn't that cruel to him? And Haruto asked him if he wasn't worthy to make a contract with Mei and Mai. The Star Spirit King replied that he can do it, because the king can only appear in the human world when many people want it. But Lord Haruto called him alone. He has incredible power. But he has certain conditions, because Mei and Mei are his dear daughters and he dotes on them. The king asked Haruto to promise that he would not force them to fight in fierce battles, and if he needed a fierce warrior, he would fight in their place. And the young man promised him that he would protect the twins and ask the Star Spirit King for help at a critical moment. Haruto informed him that he needed time to make a magic circle for teleportation, and it would give him some magic power. And the king was surprised that even though Haruto had summoned him, he still had powers. That same night, Tina heard Mr. Haruto shouting in the house. She rushed to his room and saw a mess of women's underwear on the floor. Tina soon discovered the owners of the underwear, who were in the bathroom with Haruto. The young man told Tina that she had misunderstood everything, but a terrible smile appeared on the girl's face. Tina, looking at the girls in the bathroom, said that she never thought that at some point, not only Yuko, but even Mai and Mei would end up in this mansion. Yuko snuggled up to Haruto and said that she felt cold and very scared. Haruto was obviously enjoying being in the bathroom with the three girls, but Tina's anger was forcing him to do something. He spread his arms wide and asked Tina to join them. The girl angrily threw the underwear she picked up from the floor at him and ordered him not to rush things. Haruto thought wistfully that even though they were sleeping together, Tina was against taking a bath with him, and Yuko said that great people have a great passion for carnal pleasures. As a nine-tailed fox, she still looks quite immature, but despite that, she is proud of her body, and Mai and Mei are quite beautiful in their own right. And despite the fact that Haruto is surrounded by three cute girls, he invited Tina to go swimming with them, and this is debauchery. But Haruto replied that this is not true at all, and he just wanted to invite her to take a friendly bath with them. And then he remembered how he got into this situation in the first place. It all started with Yuko, who expressed a desire to join Haruto in bathing, explaining that Miss Tina always gets in her way. But today is the day when she will have children with Haruto. The girl rushed straight to him, but Haruto managed to put up an ice wall, which Yuko drove into with all her might. Also in the bathroom were Mei and Mai, who sensed something strange in Haruto's heartbeat and came to calm him down. They wanted to beat Yuko up, but Haruto prevented the fight and informed them that this was a place for body washing and it was also forbidden to wear shoes. The twins understood in their own way, and after undressing, they joined Haruto in the bath. Just as Tina arrived, she told Haruto that he had finally shown his true colors, and that thing down there had probably turned solid. Mei and Mai decided to check out Tina's observation and noticed that Haruto's thing was quite smaller than their dad's, although usually the boy's lower body reacted in such a situation. However, Haruto was a sage and had the ability to manipulate his mana, and his little Haruto was completely controlled by his mana. Mi cautiously told Mai that there are people with such small things. After this incident, Haruto dressed up and resolutely went to the kitchen to find Tina, who was offended by the young man for going to the bathroom with other girls. Tina thought with jealousy that they were all young and had very beautiful skin, and she was much older than these girls, but still young for an elf, and despite this, Haruto did not even take a bath with her, although he invited her, and she stubbornly refused. Haruto came into the kitchen and asked Tina if she would like to go to the hot springs with him. He doesn't think of her as old at all, but thinks of her as a refined girl, and he is ready to apologize, and also invites her to go to the hot springs. Tina couldn't believe that it would be just the two of them going there, but the young man confirmed it. When Tina agreed, Haruto told her that they would go there next weekend, and the girl replied that she would look forward to the event. Tina then asked Haruto what they should do with their food supply, and it looked like they would only have to eat potatoes for a while, to which the sage replied that they should eat it quickly since there were now 5 of them. He explained to the girl that Mai and Mei had both become his spirits, so he decided to let them stay in the guest room. After that, by promising that only the 2 of them would go to the hot springs, Haruto was able to somehow calm Tina down. Tina, after promising Haruto-sama to go to the hot springs with him, felt that she had changed inwardly. She was looking forward to this meeting with joy, and every spare moment she had was looking at Haruto-sama, and it must be said that everything seemed a little deceptive to her. But she lived in the hope that she would finally be able to spend some time alone with Haruto-sama, and while walking around the house, she suddenly noticed a letter under the door, in which Haruto made an appointment for her at 10 o'clock at the fountains in the center of the city. Tina was very happy, because this was her first date with Haruto-sama. One of the wishes that she had secretly made for herself was being fulfilled. A young man in attractive clothes was waiting for her at the meeting point, and the girl apologized for being a little late. But Haruto calmed her down and informed her that he himself had recently approached. They said a few nice compliments to each other, and Haruto held out his hand for her to go. They held hands and walked down the street together, and Tina wondered uneasily if her heart would survive the day. Haruto led her to the magic carriage that they were supposed to travel in. The young man informed Tina that since this was their first date, he had hired the best magic carriage that could be found in the city, and it was obvious that this action made a lasting impression on Tina. She replied that as long as she could be near him, she would agree to a warped and shabby cart, but she appreciated such an incredible gesture and was very happy. As the carriage set off, Tina apologized for being mad at Haruto about the bathroom incident, but she asked him not to worry anymore because her heart already belongs to him. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Mai and Mei were bored by my lord's absence. They asked a frustrated Yuko what the hot springs were, and she rudely replied that it was a place for nature bathing, stating that she wanted to sleep. Mei asked her to run errands around the house first, but the fox replied that she had recently used up the mana that was stored in her 9 tails and therefore needed to rest. Of course, if she slept with my lord, then her mana would recover much faster. But Mai said that she was very hungry, and Mei reminded her that Tina-sensei left them food. She also remembered that Tina had told them to warm up the food before eating it, and Mei had said that she could do it with magic. Yuyuko woke up to a serious explosion in the kitchen and asked what happened. It turned out that the twins overheated the food, and it turned into coals. Yuyuko calmed them down and told them that she would make an omelet for them, while Tina and Haruto got off the carriage to continue their journey on foot. Their path was supposed to pass through the forest, where monsters could be found, but Tina said that as long as she was with Haruto, even a group of monsters was not afraid of her, to which the young man asked to leave all this to him, because he did not want her clothes to get dirty. Haruto turned to magic and made a fire knight, after which he informed Tina that he had hunted local monsters yesterday, but he might have missed someone, so just in case, he created this assistant. Tina thanked Haruto for taking care of her, but she was level 250 and capable of killing even a dragon, to which the young man replied that he had always known that she was strong. He asked the girl to let him protect her for just a little while. Tina agreed with him and said that she had been looking out for Haruto since he was a child, so this feeling is new to her, but she relies on it. At the hot springs, they found a place where they could change their clothes in peace, and Haruto also made a reservation for them. Tina thought about how this would be the first time Haruto would see her naked. While back at the manor, Haruto's father was looking at his youngest son's bills for visiting the hot springs, buying tons of dresses and other women's clothing, and renting the most expensive magic carriage in town. Haruto calmed Tina down by telling her that this hot spring was reserved for private use, so no one would come here, but he would use magic as a precaution. He will cast the perception distortion spell, and no one outside will see that the source is here, and their silhouettes will not be visible either, so they can relax. Tina asked if Haruto had even learned how to create protective spells and now maintained her privacy, and the young man confirmed that he didn't want anyone else to see Tina's body. Apparently, he also had a sense of ownership. They undressed and decided to go to the spring together, even though Haruto felt awkward under Tina's gaze. She was really looking too closely. After all, she had been serving Lord Haruto since she was a child and was therefore very familiar with his body, but what had happened to him now was new to her. She hasn't had a chance to see him lately, but Mr. Haruto has become much fitter and stronger, and she always takes good care of her body, and her skin is also quite clean. Tina sank down into the spring and felt as if magic power filled her, apparently coming from underground springs, mixing with the water. She told Haruto that it was really nice here, and she was glad they came here, but why wasn't he looking in her direction? Without waiting for an answer, Tina threw herself into Haruto's arms. He felt the firmness of Tina's breasts, and she demanded to look at her. Tina rose to her full height and said she wanted him to look at her. Haruto complied with her request and said that she was very beautiful, and he just stared. And Tina said that he can look as much as he wants and can even touch her, because she belongs to him. Haruto asked Tina if he could touch her wherever he wanted. Haruto wanted to touch her lips, and it was the second kiss, even though Tina was prepared for him to touch her body. The girl hugged Haruto and stated that she wanted more, and soon strange sounds and moans were heard over the hot springs. After an unforgettable swim in the hot springs, Haruto and Tina held hands and were about to go home, but the young man made a magic circle. Haruto explained that he created this circle for teleportation, which will take them to the place where the other magic circle was left, and Tina was surprised by this incredible magic of Haruto. She couldn't believe that they could actually teleport, but Haruto assured her that it was possible and that he had recently found out about it, and that it was happening through a gap in space, like summoning himself. They joined hands and stepped into the center of the magic circle. They successfully teleported to the village, and Haruto said that there was a nice restaurant here and it would be great to spend time there together, and Tina asked what happened to their magic carriage. Haruto replied that she went back. They can now teleport home, but he would like to stay in this village and even brought the luggage here, but if she doesn't want to, then they will go home. Tina looked him in the eye and told him that she was ready to stay and that Haruto would be hers tonight. Haruto took the girl's hand and declared that he was a very happy person.